Hey guys! Part 17 of What If Naruto Unlocked His True Potential. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are paid, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 68. The Traditions and Future of the Hyuga. Naruto's eyes tensed up as he stood up from his chair and reached for a kunai, focusing on the door to the kitchen. It was roughly 5 in the morning and he had been trying to eat breakfast, but he was interrupted by the sound of loud footsteps. Someone was running around in the Uzumaki clan estate. Both Masakato and Masamune should have been asleep at this hour, and even if they were awake, they would not be running. This was someone uninvited. As the Jonin began to debate about confronting the person, his intruder entered the room. He sighed in relief upon seeing that it was Hanabi. He quickly pocketed his kunai and began to relax. "Geez, Hanabi, make sure to let me know if you're going to be stopped by at random times. I almost attacked you, you know?" Naruto chuckled to himself. He crossed his arms as he relaxed back into his chair. "Anyway, what's up? I'm here to inform you that I'm not coming to training today," Hanabi stated. "And I suggest that you cancel training altogether anyway." "Huh?" The Uzumaki blinked in confusion. "Why? And why should I cancel? There's something more important. Hinata-ne-san and Niji are having a big fight today with our grandfather," Hanabi stated. Naruto's eyes widened. He was about to respond, but the Hyuga continued talking. "It's going to be at the Chunin exam stadium and they're fighting out grandfather over the new clan seal that your fellow clansman, Masakato, designed, and if they win, the seal will be instituted, but whoa. Hanabi. Slow down, Naruto said, frowning. "So, a bit more slowly please. Hinata and Niji are fighting your grandpa about the seal? Why? What's happening? It's all about politics. Grandfather and the elders won't give their support unless they beat him. It's kinda complicated." Hanabi sighed. "But you need to go. Hinata-ne-san would appreciate your support with it." She then shook her head as she started to turn around towards the door. "Anyway, the fight is at 6:30, so you need to show up. I'm going to let the rest of her friends know. And Niji's friends too." With those words, Hanabi rushed out of the room before Naruto could say or do anything. He listened carefully to her footsteps until the sound vanished, signaling she was out the compound. He sighed as he turned his attention back to his breakfast. A frown developed on his lips as he poked his rice with a chopstick. "What's going on?" he mumbled to himself. "Hinata is going to fight her grandfather? But why?" He sighed as he shook his head. He was now wondering about the specifics, and before he knew it, he was already committing to going. "I'll send a clone to tell Kanji and Katsumi training is cancelled for today. They'll appreciate a day off maybe." Naruto nodded his head as he began to leave the kitchen and headed towards his room to get things together. "Hinata, I have no clue what's going on, but you'll do great." Hyuga Yashikane was the first to arrive at the Chunin exam stadium. He stood outside the building, watching the very first movement of the sun rising in the sky. He remained there until he felt the presence arrive. He turned his head in time to see Sai, looking at him with a smile. "You seem well rested for a man who only had at most 5 hours of sleep, Yashikane-sama," he greeted the man. "We are shinobi. We don't need much sleep," Yashikane replied, crossing his arms. "You are right, of course. I was simply just commenting since you are no longer an active duty shinobi. You haven't been assigned to a mission in years, am I right, Yashikane-sama?" Sai continued to question. "I am still a shinobi and in my peak condition, thank you very much," he replied sharply. "And quit calling me Yashikane-sama. I'm not involved with your organization." "That may be true, but per Danzo-sama's request, I am to default to you for the duration of my mission. However, if you wish, I can drop the honorific Yashikane," Sai responded, his smile seemingly growing wider. "I have a question, by the way. Is my objective to kill either of our opponents?" "No," the Hyuga clan elder replied. "My objective is to beat it into Hayashi's head, as well as his blasted daughter and nephew, that the clan is better off without this new seal and the potential rebellion it could cause. Political decisions based on a mere fight." "Interesting." Sai nodded his head in understanding. "Are you afraid that if you kill one of them, the seal will reveal that it works and seal their eyes, verifying its value and making it a more logical alternative?" "Sai, You say you follow my orders? Until the battle starts, I'd like you to stop asking me questions, Yashikane stated sharply. Sai nodded his head, remaining quiet, his smile still on his face. Yashikane sighed and turned away, facing the sunrise once again. Let's get this blasted day over with already, damn it! Yashikane growled within his mind. Hinata, Niji, today is the day you prove your resolve. This is the day you claim the future of the clan. Hayashi spoke to his daughter and nephew. I wish you luck. The clan head spoke to his daughter and nephew as they walked through the streets of Konoha. Few people were walking about in the streets. Only those setting up their shops and restaurants for the day were there. We will do you proud, Hayashi-sama, Niji stated. I'm curious about who he has fighting with him. Hinata admitted with a frown. I don't really know what Hyuga shinobi would be fighting with him. I would worry less about whoever his partner is and focus on him. My father. A very slight grimace developed on Hayashi's face as he spoke that word. Is not a force to be trifled with. If you ever wanted to see someone who is a master of our clan's traditional fighting style, you will find no one superior. I believe in you both. Make sure to not underestimate him because of his age. Hinata nodded her head, recalling her training with Hiruzen, Koharu, and Hamura. The three shinobi proceeded to walk in silence for a brief moment, their eyes focused on the road. As the stadium appeared in sight, Hinata's hands went over to her forehead protector. The Hyuga heiress proceeded to untie the forehead protector from her forehead and tied it around her neck once again, like her normal style. She turned to face her cousin and father and smiled. Her new seal was displayed nicely on her forehead. Her long hair covered the top edges of the seal, but the edge of the flame of the seal could still be seen. I had assumed you were going to wear your forehead protector to cover your seal. That's the standard for most shinobi, Niji noted. This seal is something I don't want to hide. This is why we're fighting. It's the very thing that will unite our clan, Hinata declared, smiling. I only hid at first just to keep it a surprise from the clan for now. Now that we're here, I'm never hiding it. I'll proudly display it to the world. Both her father and cousin were silent, their eyes simply focused on Hinata's bare forehead. A few seconds passed by before Niji nodded his head in understanding. His hands then went over to his own forehead protector. I hope you don't mind if I borrow that idea, he said, a small smile on his lips as well as he untied his. Like his cousin, he brought his forehead protector to his neck and tied it around it. Unlike Hinata, his hair did not hide any of his seal. The original caged bird seal and the modifications Masakato added were on display for the world to see. Please, follow along, Hinata said, her smile growing wider. It looks good like that, Niji and I-san. Hayashi shook his head. He could feel his eyes starting to glisten with tears, but he made an effort to resist the feeling. Even if the majority of the people of Konoha were asleep, the Hyuga clan head was in public, after all, and had an image to maintain. Naruto arrived at the Chunin exam stadium at 6:30, just on time. The blonde walked into the building and made his way to the seats for the audience. His eyes moved across the area, seeing nobody here. It was almost alarmingly empty. I suppose this place really has no use whenever the Chunin exams are going on. It's almost eerie though, considering all that was going on here the last time. The Uzumaki shivered, recalling that the Tsunodo invasion began in this very spot. It almost makes this place feel haunted to see nobody here. As Naruto maneuvered his way through the seating area, he finally spotted a few occupied seats. He quickly hurried over to them, joining Shikamaru, Dosu, Hanabi, and Mado Gai. Looks like I'm not late, Naruto noted, smiling. Barely not. You're just on time, Dosa stated. Sorry. The Uzumaki rubbed his head sheepishly. His eyes then moved to Gai. You're Mato Gai, yeah? You were Niji's Jonin-sensei. That I was. I am pleased to see that you recognized me, Naruto-kun, Gai stated, grinning widely. Niji's younger cousin proceeded to inform me of this event, and I had to come. Lee and Tenten are currently away on mission, so I must cheer loudly for Niji with the passion of the entire team for him to know that we support him. The Uzumaki blinked. For just the briefest of moments, he felt as if he could see tears falling from Gai's face, and an image of a sunset, accompanied with a waterfall, flashed in his mind. He proceeded to shake his head and the image was gone. Must be seeing things. I'm curious how this goes. Shikamaru spoke up, crossing his arms. Hanabi, this is all about the seal? Is a fight like this necessary? It is. She nodded her head. The clan elders, our grandfather, are too traditional. They need the seal beaten into them, literally. Naruto frowned. His eyes noticed a group of 9 men and women sitting in seats on the other side of the stadium, the other Hyuga clan elders. That's so stupid that they have to go to this extreme instead of just listening to reason. The system that is traditional isn't right. It's not. Hanabi sighed. But it's tradition and the clan is focused on it entirely. And it's Hinata's and Niji's job to dismantle that tradition. Shikamaru commented, crossing her arms. Well, she is a student of Anko. I'm sure she'll do more than just dismantle it. Damn straight. Naruto crossed his arms. She's gonna dash. I see movement. It's starting. Dosa interrupted. The blonde shut his mouth. The group looked forward to the arena of the Chunin exam stadium in time to see Hinata, Niji, and Hayashi walk into the arena. On the other side, 2 other shinobi walked out. Hinata, good luck. The blonde brought his hands together as he continued to watch. Yashikane, who is that man accompanying you? Hayashi questioned, his eyes narrowing. He is no Hyuga. The Hyuga clan elder turned his head, acknowledging his partner. This is Sai. He is not affiliated with our clan, or any clan. He will be fighting alongside me today. It is a pleasure to meet you all. Sai greeted, smiling brightly at them. Hinata briefly nodded her head at the man, while Hayashi and Niji simply looked at him, only barely acknowledging his presence. You brought a non-Hyuga here to help you resolve a clan-related issue. Niji noted, scowling. That seems unorthodox for someone like you. The purpose of this is for me to test you both and see if this future you propose, under the leadership and example of you two, is strong enough for me to concede to you and your ideals. Yashikane stated sharply, crossing his arms. There is nothing unorthodox about this. I just brought someone who I know will be able to take you on. A pregnant pause took over the arena grounds. Hayashi proceeded to walk off towards the side. The 4 combatants watched the Hyuga clan leader for a second before they turned their attention to each other. So, what are the rules here specifically? Hinata questioned. Fight with the intent to kill. That's your only rule, Yashikane said. The elder looked at his grandchildren with a slight smirk as he dropped into a fighting stance. Sai joined him as he proceeded to reach into a bag on his waist and pull out a scroll and an ink pen. This is my last chance for you two. Do you believe your seal is worth it? Of course. Both Hinata and Niji said in unison as they dropped into place. Yashikane shook his head. Then so be it. Come at me with all your might. Fight for this so-called change you want to bring, because I will not allow our clan to bend in its traditions. The wind blew through the arena. The sun rose slightly higher, covering the arena in a warm, light color. Byakugan! Ninja Art Super Beast Scroll! As the 3 Hyuga activated their dojutsu, Sai quickly drew on his scroll. A large ink drawing of a bird flew out of the scroll and onto the battlefield. Sai quickly jumped onto the back of the bird and flew into the air, directly above Hinata and Niji. Yashikane, meanwhile, slammed his open palm against the ground. 8 trigrams grid palm! A green circle developed from around Yashikane's body. It immediately began to expand outward, forming a green grid formation, resembling a spider web. Both Hinata and Niji jumped upward and landed in spots of the ground in between. They watched the grid collide with the walls of the arena before finally stopping. Yashikane raised his palm off the ground, but the grids remained on the ground. That technique, my father knew this jutsu. Niji noted, frowning. Hinata, do not touch the grid at all. The chakra channeled throughout it will forcibly enter your body and attack your own chakra system. Hinata nodded her head, her eyes focused on Sai, who was flying up in the air, currently drawing on his scroll. Yashikane has already limited the fighting ground, but that's not going to affect this Sai person fighting with him. They must have worked out this strategy beforehand. Sai completed his drawings and immediately, a flock of smaller birds flew from the sky downward, towards Hinata and Niji. Hinata immediately reached for her bow and fired arrows into the sky at the birds. The arrows managed to hit each of the smaller birds, causing them to fall to the ground as a pool of ink. While Hinata was focusing on attacking the birds, Yashikane charged forward at her, unaffected by the grid he had created. Niji jumped forward at him, landing again on space between the grids. Both Hyuga shinobi struck at each other with their open palms, colliding against each other. Yashikane then struck at Niji again, aiming lower. Niji parried his strike with his palm, but the strike was powerful enough to knock him back an inch backwards into the green chakra grid. A powerful spike of chakra rushed into his body, causing the branch clan member to grit his teeth from the pain. A Hyuga should be able to remain grounded. You should not allow me to push you back, Yashikane commented, almost tauntingly as he attempted to strike Niji again. His grandson jumped into the air to avoid, landing on the ground and away from the grid. Tell me this isn't all you can do, Niji. Of course not, Niji hissed as he extended his hand outward. 8 trigrams vacuum palm. Niji released a wave of chakra from his open palm that flew towards Yashikane. The Hyuga clan elder jumped into the air, avoiding the attack. As he was floating in the air, Hinata turned her attention towards him and fired an arrow directly towards him. Yashikane quickly maneuvered his body midair, avoiding the attack. I hope that wasn't an attempt to catch me off guard, Hinata, he commented as he landed on the ground again. You'll need to try harder than that. I can do that, Hinata replied as her hand started to glow blue, channeling chakra. The chakra quickly channeled itself into the bow and arrow in her hands as shot a singular arrow up into the sky. Water style, never-ending arrow downpour. The arrow flew into the sky towards Sai. The root agent flew away in time, causing the arrow to fly even higher into the sky. Once it reached a certain height, the arrow turned back around, facing downward. Water moisture in the air started to take physical form and change shape, resembling arrows as well. All the arrows proceeded to fire themselves downward. There's no opening to avoid the attack, it seems. I won't fly away in time. Interesting, Sai noted as he watched the arrows fall towards him. I'll change tactics then. This jutsu makes it pointless for me to focus on aerial combat to counter them. Sai jumped off his bird and fell to the ground just as arrows collided his bird, dissipating it instantly, and causing it to form a puddle of ink. Sai fell to the ground directly onto the newly formed ink puddle, his body seemingly disappearing into it. Arrows struck the puddle again, but seemingly did not damage to him. 8 trigrams palm rotation. Both Niji and Yashikane utilized the same jutsu, spinning their body and creating a rotating ball of chakra around themselves that kept their bodies safe from being skewered by the arrows. While both shinobi were using their jutsu, Hinata rushed forward, jumping in between spots on the grid arena floor, towards her grandfather. Any arrow that would hit her seemed to redirect itself before it could hit. As Yashikane's jutsu subsided, Hinata jumped forward at him, her open palm extended outward, aiming for his chest. The elder jumped backwards, avoiding her attack. Niji, having finished his own jutsu, jumped next to Hinata's side. The two then extended their hands forward, their arms connected as they channeled chakra into their open palms. 8 trigrams vacuum wall palm. Both Hinata and Niji released waves of chakra that merged together, forming a massive blast of pure chakra. The combined vacuum palms smashed into Yashikane's body and forced him back into the wall of the arena. The impact caused a loud crash, creating a giant dust cloud. Almost instantly, the grid structure of chakra began to fade away. Good work there, Dash. Niji's voice cut himself off as his eyes narrowed on the ground. Hinata! Both Hinata and Niji jumped backwards just in time as Sai jumped out from the ground underneath them, holding a tanto. He quickly swung his blade at Hinata, but she managed to sidestep, avoiding the attack. He then delivered a kick that connected, knocking her backwards. She winced in pain as she felt the air escape her breath. Niji proceeded to charge forward at Sai, aiming for his tenketsu on his back. The root agent quickly turned around and blocked Niji's palm with the hilt of his tanto. He then proceeded to jump into the air and land directly behind Niji. He attempted to kick Niji down as well, but the branch family shinobi jumped back just in time to avoid the attack. You fight well. Very well, Niji noted, his eyes narrowing on the man. Both Hinata and I have been jonin for a little while now and we've never even heard about you. How is that possible? Who exactly are you, Sai? I'm just a loyal shinobi to Konoha. Nothing more to say, Sai added with a smile. Sai sheathed his sword and reached for his scroll and ink pen. Yashikane proceeded to jump forward from the rubble. Some blood was dripping from his face as he glared at his grandchildren. Nice trick there. Notice you two both had to use the jutsu though to get it that strong, Yashikane replied as he extended both his palms outward. Let me see if, by myself, I can compare. 8 trigrams vacuum wall palm. 2 massive waves of chakra rocketed forward from Yashikane's palms directly at the two cousins. Hinata was able to jump away in time, but Niji's side was struck by the shock. He coughed up blood as he was knocked backwards into the wall of the arena as well, creating another crash with more dust clouds. "Niji and I-san!" Hinata exclaimed. "So that older Hyuga can do the same technique that both Hinata and Niji had to do together." Shikamaru noted, frowning. "This looks like it's getting bad now. I'm honestly more concerned with the other opponent," Dosa said, crossing his arms. "He seems to be a complete unknown and he's fighting at their level. Just who is he?" "He fights in a way that reminds me of ANBU agents," Guy noted. "However, I am familiar with most of the current and past operatives in ANBU. I have never seen this person before, nor do I recognize his fighting style. It's unique. I'd be curious to fight it. But it's concerning that I have seen him before." Naruto's eyes were focused entirely on the rude agent. He watched the shinobi draw into his scroll as ink tigers came to life and charged at Hinata. His eyes widened as realization dawned on him. "Wait, I know who that guy is. I've met him once before," he exclaimed. "You have?" Shikamaru questioned. The Uzumaki nodded his head. "Remember how I marched with the rest of the Konoha shinobi on the mission in Kirigakure? Well, Sai was one of the shinobi that was there. I marched along with him." The blonde's face turned into a frown as he focused back on the battle. "Never saw him fight, though. I don't really know what his skills are." "That's interesting to know, Naruto." All eyes turned away from the fight at the sound of Hayashi's voice. The Hyuga clan head walked towards them and took a seat next to his youngest daughter. "Father, how are you doing?" Hanabi questioned, frowning. "Do you think Hinata-san and Niji are going to be alright?" "I believe so. This is their fight, though. We have to simply trust they will be," Hayashi responded. The Hyuga clan head's eyes narrowed in on Sai. A thought entered his head as he focused on him. He was obviously a qualified shinobi if he were to have been sent on the invasion of Kirigakure mission years ago. His fighting style also reminded Mato Guy of ANBU operatives. However, he was also a rather secretive individual if Hinata, Niji, and even Hayashi himself had never even heard of him. A singular image of a man, and an organization, entered his head. His eyes turned to Yashikane and narrowed in anger. "Yashikane, how dare you involve Root in this?" he mentally snarled. Hinata jumped backwards as Sai's ink tigers charged in at her. The tigers kept pursuing her, moving at a relentless speed. The Hyuga heiress then jumped into the air, directly above them and fired 2 arrows at their heads. Unlike the birds, however, the 2 tigers remained standing after the attack and jumped into the air as well, trying to strike at her again. As the tigers went to bite at her, Hinata dodged midair. She positioned herself so that the tigers were directly in front of her as she extended her palm. Another vacuum wave of chakra rushed out of open palm and smacked into the tigers, causing them to finally dissipate into an ink puddle. With the tigers gone, Hinata landed back on the ground safely. Yashikane, however, rushed at her, striking at her with his gentle fist. She proceeded to sidestep away, positioning herself behind him. She attempted to strike at his back with her open palm, but the man turned around and slammed his palm against hers, overpowering her attack. He attempted to strike her in the face, but she jumped up into the air in time to avoid the strike. "Your gentle fist is weak," Yashikane stated sharply as he turned around to face her. "Your style is all based on evasion. You had to accommodate it to you. You were unable to master the actual gentle fist." A smug smirk developed on his face as he rushed at her again. "How do you expect to move our clan forward if you can't even master something as simple as our clan's taijutsu?" Hinata remained quiet as she simply dodged her grandfather's attacks. He continuously tried to strike at her, but the Hyuga heiress was able to jump out of the way or sidestep each and every strike. A grin developed on her lips as well. "You say all of that, but you surely must notice that if I concentrate on dodging, you can't hit me. My style is based around evasiveness and quick attacks. Maybe you'll overpower me if I try to hit you, but you can't touch me otherwise," Hinata stated. "You just can't acknowledge it because it's not the standard, though. You can't acknowledge anything that's not how it was when you were growing up. Brat," Yashikane hissed. The Hyuga clan elder continuously tried to attack at Hinata, but with no avail. After another strike at her, she proceeded to jump backwards. She tried to continue to move further back, but was stopped. An ink-like snake had grabbed onto both of her feet and was preventing her from moving. "Ninja art, ink flush." Sai walked over to the 2 Hyuga. "I'm assuming that helps you out, Yashikane." "Humph. A small smirk developed on his lips as he changed stances. Hinata, you're within my field of divination. Hinata's eyes widened in horror. She channeled chakra to the tenketsu to her feet, trying to overwhelm the ink snakes holding onto her. She was able to accomplish that and break free, but it was too late as Yashikane was already at her. 8 trigrams 64 palms. 2 palms. He struck Hinata in 2 tenketsu points on her shoulders. 4 palms dash. 8 trigrams Mountain Crusher. A large blast of chakra rushed forward through the air directly towards Yashikane. The Hyuga clan elder noticed the oncoming attack and jumped backwards, canceling his attack mid-technique. Niji jumped to Hinata's side. The Hyuga heiress gripped onto her shoulders and seemed to be in pain, but she looked at her cousin in relief as she smiled brightly. Thank you for that, Niji and I-san, she told him. Niji shook his head, smiling back at her. Think nothing of it. It was poetic, watching the branch family member jumping in to save the main family. Yashikane replied, a taunting smirk on his face. That's the way it was meant to be. That's precisely why the old seal is put into place, to ensure that loyalty. I defend her not because of the role of the branch family. That role made me resent Hinata-sama as a child. Niji replied, glaring at the man. I defend her because she is my cousin and because I respect her and her leadership. Just as she does the same for me, which is why she defended me earlier. That is how a family should function. Hinata replied, glaring at her grandfather. This is where our clan is wrong. Our clan has never changed. Not once. And it never will. Not because of your foolish ideals. Not in the face of a potential civil war your new seal could cause, as plenty of rebellious branch family members would try and assert dominance over the new main family. Yashikane snarled. His eyes then turned towards the audience watching, facing his son. I am not allowing our clan to fall apart simply because Hayashi can't choose which of his daughters to mark with the cursed seal. I refuse. Potential civil war? Naruto frowned at the words. What's that guy talking about? It's clearly his point of view. Naturally, cause he's a traditionalist. It's justification he is giving himself as to why it is important to keep the old system in place. Shikamura noted, crossing his arms. Dosa nodded his head in agreement. No one believes they are the bad person in their viewpoint. Wise words. Guy nodded his head as well. That doesn't change things, though. Naruto crossed his arms, his frown turning into a scowl. I don't care if he thinks he's in the right or not. The guy's objectively in the wrong on this, and he's being an asshole about this. He turned his attention back to his girlfriend. His scowl turned upward, turning into a smile. Come on, Hinata, show your asshole grandpa your full strength. Hanabi turned away from the fight towards her father. Hayashi had been staring at his father with widened eyes. She tilted her head in confusion. Are you okay, father? She questioned. The clan head did not respond. His hand went to his chin as he rubbed it, staring at his father. The man was focusing solely on his last words. So that's the reason. It's not any main or branch family roles, or any civil war. That's the real reason? Hayashi's widened eyes proceeded to narrow. You've become quite the bitter old man, father. It doesn't matter if you refuse to accept change. Change is coming. Hinata said sharply as she brought her hands to her side. Not over my dead body! Yashikane snarled as he started to run through hand sings. You want your change so bad? Then fucking earn it. Earth style, stalagmite. Yashikane stomped on the ground, causing large spiked pillars of earth to develop underneath both Niji's and Hinata's feet. The two cousins jumped backwards, avoiding the attacks. Sai then proceeded to draw rapidly into his scrolls. Multiple birds escaped from Sai's scroll, flying directly towards both Niji and Hinata. Niji jumped immediately behind Hinata as she brought her hands together. Protection of the 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Hinata proceeded to move her palms rapidly around her body. Streaks of chakra began to escape from the open palm that formed a blue, circular, rotating shield around both cousins. The shield protected them from Sai's birds, that turned into puddles of ink. Sai proceeded to draw into his scroll again. 2 large tigers jumped forward from his scroll and charged at the circular orb. Just like the birds, the tigers immediately dissipated upon impact, turning back into ink. Sai proceeded to jump backwards for a moment, while Yashikane only closed his eyes and got into a stance, waiting for the time. Niji, watching from inside Hinata's jutsu, saw the stance his grandfather was entering and dropped into a similar stance. As Hinata's jutsu finished, Yashikane charged forward at the two cousins. Niji rushed forward. Both shinobi struck forward at each other with the exact same palm strikes, Yashikane's palm colliding against Niji's. 8 trigrams 64 palms. 2 palms. Both Yashikane and Niji proceeded to strike at each other again, 4 times this time, moving faster. Once again. They proceeded to parry each other. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. Each strike was perfectly parried, with neither shinobi allowing themselves to get hit. As both shinobi continued to strike at each other, Hinata brought her hands to her side once more and closed her eyes. She began to channel chakra into her arms. 32 palms. 8 trigrams 64 palms. Both Yashikane and Niji jumped backwards after their final strikes. Neither shinobi managed to land a decisive hit on the other. Gentle step twin lion fists. Yashikane and Niji turned their attention towards Hinata as they noticed the sudden spike in chakra. Hinata's arms were now covered in a blue, visible chakra shroud that was shaped like lions. Yashikane-san, you wanted to see more power from me, yes? You wanted to see me move stronger and more forcefully? To make you accept the change we intend to bring? Hinata questioned as she crouched downwards slightly, changing her stance. Then I hope this doesn't disappoint you then. Hinata then charged forward directly at the elderly man. Sai jumped directly in between, pocketing his scroll and reaching for his tanto. The root shinobi swung his blade directly at Hinata, but she dodged in time. She swung her fist at the shinobi, but he was able to avoid the punch. However, the blue chakra shroud surrounding her hand made contact with his skin, causing Sai's eyes to widen as he felt his own chakra supply grow weaker. He jumped backwards, away from the shinobi. Interesting. I don't feel as if my chakra had been sealed. It feels drained. Sai noted as he studied the Hyuga's lion fists. What a dangerous technique. We'll have to exercise caution. With Sai momentarily out of the way, Hinata continued to charge forward towards Yashikane. The Hyuga clan elder jumped backwards, avoiding her first attack, but Hinata kept charging forward at him, swinging again. Yashikane brought his open palms directly in front of his face. 8 trigrams vacuum wall palm. A massive wave of chakra escaped both palms, merging together to form an even larger blast of chakra that flew towards Hinata. Hinata extended her fists forward, causing the lion heads to take the force of the attack. She bit into her lip as she was pushed backwards slightly, but she remained relatively rooted in place. She was not sent flying back to the wall of the arena. That jutsu of hers is draining the chakra of the vacuum wave itself. Unbelievable. Yashikane gritted his teeth as he turned towards his ally. Sai! Sai nodded his head as he brought his hands together. Ink-like snakes rose up from the ground, of the puddles of his previously defeated creations. The snakes rushed forward to Hinata, grabbing her by the legs. Hinata attempted to channel chakra to her feet fast enough, but Sai's technique was too quick and she was knocked to the ground. Yashikane proceeded to run through another set of hand signs. Earth style, stalagmite dash. Before Yashikane could stomp on the ground and finish his jutsu, Niji jumped at him, his open palm aimed for the elder's heart. Yashikane cancelled his technique and jumped away. This is where it's going to end, Niji stated as he dropped into his stance. You're within my area of divination. Heh. This didn't work the last time you tried. Yashikane smirked as he dropped into the same stance. Let's see if this works one more time. The Hyuga clan elders shared a look with Sai, who nodded in understanding. The root agent, gripping his tanto, proceeded to disappear in a spiral of ink before reappearing directly behind him. Niji's stance was already fixed, and he did not have the time to react properly. Sai swung his blade at his back, but before the tanto could connect, it was intercepted by Hinata's lion-shaped fist. The Hyuga heiress had overpowered the snakes holding her down and rushed over to Niji, just in time. We're finished here, she said decisively. 8 trigrams 32 palms. Hinata quickly slammed the lion fists into Sai's torso, causing him to wince in pain. Similarly, Niji and Yashikane charged forward at each other, each attempting to strike at each other. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. As Niji and Yashikane continued to duel each other, trying to land a hit on the other, Hinata was attacking Sai's body freely. The root agent was unable to get away in time. The jutsu, combined with Hinata's twin lions, were draining his chakra too fast for him to get away in time. 8 trigrams 32 palms. After launching a barrage of 32 strikes, Hinata concluded her attack. Sai immediately fell to the ground. Blood was starting to drip from his mouth and nose as he struggled to pull himself up. He, however, could not muster the strength to get up. What a ferocious attack. I can't get up. I'm in condition to fight. Sai managed to move his head just enough to see Niji and Yashikane still fighting. 32 palms. 64 palms. Niji and Yashikane continued to strike at each other, trying to overpower the other. By the time they finished their 64th strike, however, the two Hyuga shinobi continued to attack each other. 8 trigrams 128 palms. Both Niji and Yashikane continued with their attack. Each strike of Yashikane's was parried by Niji's. Each blow of Niji's was blocked by Yashikane's. They were evenly matched. Sweat started to cover their faces as they desperately tried to overpower the other. I won't lose. I won't allow you brats to ruin our clan. I refuse. Yashikane inwardly growled. This is it. This is the end of the outdated practices of our clan. This will fix everything. This is it. Niji's eyes narrowed. Finally, after the 128th strike, Yashikane's attack started to relent. Niji's, however, proceeded to continue. Horror entered the clan elder's eyes. There's no way. Yashikane gritted teeth again, resisting the urge to scream. He tried his hardest to keep power in each of his palms. No Hyuga should ever be able to go past 128. Especially no branch family shinobi. Niji, however, continued his attacks, striking at Yashikane with a rapid pace. The Hyuga clan elder was no longer able to fully parry. He was now taking the full force of Niji's never-ending attack. 8 trigrams 256 palms. Niji sent Yashikane flying backwards with the final 256 palm. The Hyuga clan elder rolled on the ground before remaining flat on his back. He proceeded to reach for the floor of the arena and tried to pull himself off the ground, but before he could stand up the entire way, Hinata rushed over to him and grabbed him by his robes with her right hand, no longer covered in the blue lion-shaped chakra shroud. The mission was a failure. Sai mentally noted. It's over. She told him definitively, speaking with no emotion. Absolutely not. Yashikane shook his head. He closed his eyes and tried to channel chakra, but his entire chakra system was completely sealed after Niji's technique. As he tried to force open his tenketsu, he felt Hinata's grip on his throat tighten, causing him to wince. Burk! Please! It's over, Hinata stated. Just admit defeat. I refuse. Despite his pain, despite his inability to fight, the Hyuga clan elder refused to back down. He proceeded to glare at his granddaughter. You want your future so badly? Kill me. Kill me now. Hinata's eyes lightened ever so slightly. She shook her head as she let go of Yashikane's neck. The man fell to the ground back onto his back. He winced in pain. Niji jumped next to Hinata's side. He looked over at his grandfather coldly. You can't fight. You know this, Niji stated. Even so, Yashikane pulled himself slowly off the ground. Despite his efforts, he fell back to the ground again. I refuse to dash, it's because of your own kids, isn't it? Hinata interrupted. Yashikane looked at his granddaughter in surprise. I believe you. I do believe that you think the branch clan maybe would revolt against the main family. But that's not the only reason why you're so resistant. It's because you're jealous. What are you talking about? Yashikane hissed as he continued to struggle back to his feet. You're jealous that Niji and I are accomplishing this. You're jealous that our father won't have to force one of his children to enter the branch family. Hinata stated, frowning as she looked at her grandfather. You were forced by tradition to mark Hizashi as a branch family. And you resent that my father held back in marking either me or Hanabi. And now you resent him more that he won't end up having to mark one of us. Don't put words in my mouth, the Hyuga clan elder exclaimed. The man finally pulled himself off the ground. He was struggling to stand, but still maintained his glare at his grandchildren. I've already spoken my piece. I know exactly what bridging the gap between the main and branch families will cause. I know I'm right, the Hyuga heiress interrupted him. A small, sad smile developed on her lips. Grandfather, please. Trust us. Niji and Ai-san and I are not doing anything reckless. We know what we are doing. We are going to unite the Hyuga clan and make it stronger than ever. So that way all of the clan will be considered equal. So that way no one, not even a clan head like you were, will be forced to mark one of their children. We're going to do it, regardless of if you have faith in us or not. Niji spoke, crossing his arms. Just surrender now. Yashikane proceeded to grit his teeth. He turned his head over to the Hyuga clan elders in the audience. He noticed that the group were nodding their heads. It almost appeared to him as if they were in agreement with Hinata and Niji. He then turned his attention to Sai. The root agent was pulling himself off the ground, but he was struggling. Despite Yashikane's chakra being sealed off, despite not having his Byakugan activated, he knew that the shinobi was unable to keep fighting. Hinata's jutsu was devastating, even more devastating than the technique that Niji pulled off on him. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. Yashikane closed his eyes. No words were said. The Hyuga shinobi knew what had just occurred. Hyuga Yashikane was surrendering. And with his surrender, came the consent of the Hyuga clan elders for the new seal. A relieved, elated look developed on both Hinata's and Niji's faces. Hinata immediately pulled her cousin into a hug. We did it, Niji and I-san. She exclaimed. We did it. Niji returned her hug. Tears quickly began to fall from his face, an action that Hinata quickly reciprocated. I'm so proud of us, Hinata-sama not Hinata-sama. Hinata interrupted, somehow tightening the hug. There's no family difference anymore. We're just cousins now. Hinata. Niji repeated her name, without the honorific. We did it then, Hinata. Never before had the two Hyuga felt as proud as they died in that moment. Hell yeah! Naruto cheered loudly, clapping his hands together. They did it, damn it! Who? Naruto, don't be so loud. She's having a moment, Shikamaru said, chuckling to himself. Despite his words, he had a large grin on his face as he looked at his friend in approval. She did a hell of a job out there. She fought her ideals and came out on top. She and her cousin showed how truly strong they were. Dosa noted, smiling as well at the Hyuga shinobi. Enko Taicho will be pleased to hear about this. Hinata did amazing. More than amazing. She was a straight-up badass. Naruto continued to exclaim as he started to shout even later. Yeah! That's my girlfriend. And that is my student. Guy cheered out as well. You have done well, Niji Kuyun. I am so proud of you and I know Lee and Tenten will be elated to hear the news. You have really come into your youthness. I salute you. Hinata Nasan is so cool. Hanabi thought to herself, smiling brightly. She was admittedly uncertain exactly what changes were about to come to the Hyuga clan, but she knew that it would be for the better, regardless. She was excited and, above all else, proud of her sister and cousin. Hanabi turned to face her father and asked him a question, but she stopped herself before she could even form the first word. She stared at him in shock. Tears were free-falling from his face as he smiled the widest smile she could recall ever seeing on his face. Hisashi, look at what your son did. Look at what my daughter did. Hayashi spoke softly to himself. They've accomplished our dreams. Chapter 69, Familial Changes. Damn my head. I think I did drink a bit too much last night. Enko grumbled to herself as she walked down the streets of Kirigakure. After arriving in Kirigakure, the Konoha Jonin attended a ceremony to celebrate Kahayo's introduction into the Seven Swordsmen in Kirigakure. All members were present to celebrate, and they all went out to get drinks to celebrate. Enko's memory started to get fuzzy after her 7th bottle of sake and her memory of last night after that straight-up stops after her 11th bottle. The only thing she recalled was waking up in Zabuza's apartment, where she had already arranged to sleep at, with a massive hangover. I'm surprised I even managed to get home last night, to be honest, shit. She shook her head. Despite her hangover though, she felt a smirk develop on her lips. Still worth it. Enko proceeded to walk through the streets of Kirigakure. As she walked down the streets, she made note of all the cheerful citizens, shinobi and non-shinobi alike, that were simply enjoying life. The city seemed filled with life, with villagers selling fresh-caught fish in the markets and kids just simply running around, playing in the various ponds around the village and in the streets of the village. It seemed so different from the village that she helped invade over 2.5 years ago. Kirigakure, for the first time in over a decade, was at peace. It was a sight that brought great joy to her. The Jonin proceeded to walk through the village until she reached her destination, the Mizuki's office. She proceeded to walk in and took a seat. Sitting at the desk in the center of the room was the Godame Mizukage, Terumi Mei. Standing by her side was a shinobi wearing a hunter shinobi's mask. Nice to see you today, Anko. I trust last night was eventful for you. Mei commented with a playful smirk. It actually wasn't, and that's the best part. Anko replied, returning her smirk. The best nights are the ones you can't remember. I can attest to that. The Mizukage chuckled as she turned her head to the shinobi to her right. Don't you agree? Not necessarily, the shinobi replied. I've never been much of a drinker. You know this. Mei frowned in response. You've always been a bore to go out with. A playful smirk then developed on her lips. You're much more fun to be around at home alone, though, Yugura-kun. He proceeded to look downwards. Despite his mask, Anko could tell that he was blushing. Sure, it's the best idea to refer to him that way, Mei? Anko questioned. No one can hear this conversation. No one can hear. I can assure you of that. Yugura spoke up, crossing his arms. I'll obviously respond to Kamui, but I'd prefer to simply go by name whenever possible. Since you already know the truth behind the incident, I'd prefer to simply be referred to as Yugura. Fair enough. Anko noted with a nod of her head. She then turned her attention to the Mizukage. Anyway, I don't really have much to say or report to you, Mei. I just wanted to know if you had anything you needed me to do before I head back to Konoha. Have any missions you need me to do while I'm here? Mei brought her hands together as she closed her eyes. She reopened them and nodded her head at the Jonin. I do have a mission, but it's on the way to Konoha, so you can stop by your village first. I don't require you to come back to report about it. Sending a message should suffice, Mei said as she reached for a scroll. It's simply a mission to visit Taki, delivering a scroll to their village's leader, Shibuki, and give me an update on their Jinchuriki. Anko titled her head slightly. The last part of the mission request was of particular interest to her. Anko was only vaguely familiar with Takigaku's Jinchuriki. The village was rather secretive about their identity, and they were someone who did not go on many missions outside of their village. The only thing that Anko could even confirm about them was that the Jinchuriki was female. Are you familiar with who the Jinchuriki is or something? She asked. Unofficially, yes. Mei nodded her head. Yudakata and his student, Hataru, were traveling by Taki maybe 3 months ago and he crossed paths with the Jinchuriki. Apparently, her name is Fu, Yudakata, huh? A small smile developed on Anko's face. You've heard from him recently? While not a Kirigakure shinobi anymore, he comes by every now and then to report things he believes Mei-chan should know. Yugura answered. He's doing well. He has started taking Hataru's training seriously. She's making progress as a shinobi and he seems to finally enjoy being her sensei. Excellent to hear. Anko's smile widened further. Anyway, what exactly is my mission? Why would you want me to check up on her? Simply to develop a relationship with her. She's apparently a rather lonely person and could use some more friends in her life. I also think it would be important to just be able to know another village's Jinchuriki, especially considering events related to that Akatsuki organization. At the very least, she deserves to be made aware of the threat they pose to her. Mei noted with a frown. I also would like if you get an audience with Taki's leader, Shibuki, and deliver a scroll to him. Asking for an alliance, I assume? The Seven Swordsmen of Kirigakure member asked. Yes. I'd like to improve our relations with Taki, especially since it is important nowadays to keep tabs on the Nanabai Jinchuriki and make sure she is safe, the Mizukage said. It's also why I'd actually recommend stopping by Konoha and maybe taking a day or two before going. I'd assume your Hokage would possibly want to send a scroll to him as well about the subject matter. Understood. Anko nodded her head in understanding. I can do that then. I'll go back to Konoha and then get that mission handled right away. After talking to Mei for a little longer, Anko received the scroll meant for Shibuki and proceeded to leave her office. She then began to walk back towards Zabuza's apartment, ready to get her belongings together and pack up. Wonder if I can get Naruto to come along on this, provided he's not busy with his own brats. He'd probably like to meet another Jinchuriki. Anko questioned. I've been out of the village for a little while now. Wonder how all of those brats are doing right now. Hinata had a wide smile on her lips as she walked to the Hyuga clan estate courtyard. Her father had called for a whole clan meeting. She knew exactly what it was about, and she was beyond excited to see her dreams finally come to fruition. By the time she had arrived, a majority of the clan, both branch family and main family members, had already assembled. The two families were divided into two groups, the branch family to the left and the main family to the right. At the front, standing in front of a large tree, was her father. To his side was both Hanabi and Niji. Hinata walked over to their side, taking a position in between her father and sister. The various Hyuga shinobi there noticed that she had a blue-colored seal on her forehead. They started to talk amongst themselves about what exactly the seal meant and what its purpose was. Niji's new seal was also on display, which only furthered discussion. Their seals are with the same blue ink. They have the same thing. One Hyuga main family member noted. What does that mean? Hayashi-sama didn't mark his eldest daughter, did he? Another main family member asked. That would make little sense. Why would he? She's one of the strongest jonin in the village, period. What exactly did he do to Niji? A branch family noted, their eyes narrowed in suspicion. Are we getting that same seal? Their questions were loud enough that the four Hyuga at the front could hear them all. Despite that, they remained quiet, waiting for more Hyuga to arrive. A few more minutes passed and the remaining Hyuga showed up. Hayashi noticed in the back of the main family were the clan elders, who were looked at him with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The man noticed that Yashikane was not amongst them, which caused him to frown. Sorry I'm arriving late. Hayashi turned his attention back to the entrance to the courtyard. Uzumaki Masakato walked forward, entering the clan compound. He walked directly down the middle between the two families, until he reached the center. Took a little bit to get out of here. My apologies. Masakato bowed his head at the man. He then turned his head, looking out amongst the crowds of Hyuga shinobi. A frown developed on his lips. What's up with all this silent chatting amongst the people? Don't you have something to tell them? I was waiting for everyone to get here. Hayashi spoke. His eyes focused in on the elders for just a moment before he shook his head. But now that you are here, everyone of importance is here. Let's just begin then. His words immediately silenced all conversation between the Hyuga. All eyes were on Hayashi as he took a step forward. Thank you all for coming today. I will keep this as brief as possible, but I wish to inform you all of changes occurring to our clan. Changes for the better. Hayashi stated. As your clan head, it is my responsibility to protect this clan and move it forward in the direction best suited for our clan's longevity and prestige. It is my role, as it is the role of every clan head, to unify the clan. In this goal, preceding clan heads have failed to accomplish this, and I myself have failed until this point. There is one singular factor that contributes to this failure, our clan's special Fuinjutsu, also referred to as the caged bird seal by many here. Immediately, both the main family and branch family Hyuga stiffened in response. A few branch family members turned to glare at their main family counterparts, while the main family simply looked uncomfortable at the subject. The original purpose of the seal is something that is necessary. It is essential to make sure our clan's Byakugan does not fall into the hands of enemy shinobi. Hayashi crossed his arms as a scowl developed on his lips. However, it makes little sense why all shinobi are not marked with the seal to ensure that no one's Byakugan is at risk of being stolen. It also makes even less sense why additional precautions were put into the seal that affects the brains of those with it. It makes perfect sense. A branch family Hyuga spoke up, rolling his eyes. It is so your main family shinobi can keep us in our place. Quiet down when Hayashi-sama is speaking. A main family shinobi hissed in response as she raised her hand to activate the seal. Before she could finish the seal, however, Hayashi's voice boomed throughout the courtyard. Hyuga Kumiko, do not finish that seal. This is an order from your clan head and you best follow it. The main family member, Kumiko, immediately paled in her face as she lowered her hands. The branch family members all looked at Hayashi in confusion at his actions but remained silent. I will not contest that main family shinobi have historically taken advantage of the additions placed on the caged bird seal. This is a contributing factor in the inability of clan heads to unify the clan. I am here to finally end this division, once and for all. Hayashi stated sharply as he gestured with his hands towards the elderly redhead to his side. As you are all aware, this is Uzumaki Masakato, the last Yuzukage of Yuzushiogakure and one of the greatest Fuinjutsu users to ever walk this earth. And thanks to his talent and research, our clan now possesses a new seal. It is as Hayashi-san has stated. Masakato spoke proudly. I have designed 2 seals to specifically be used for your clan. One is a new seal that will help seal the Byakugan eyes permanently with no other effects. It will be implemented from here on out. Hinata currently is displaying what that seal looks like. Hinata stepped forward. She pushed up her bangs, showing off the full seal in plain sight. Niji then proceeded to step forward as Masakato gestured to him. Niji here is displaying the other seal. It is an addition to the caged bird seal that will be placed on all current branch family members that will eliminate the adverse side effects the seal places on the afflicted Hyuga's brains. Both main and branch family members were silent as they stared at Hayashi in awe. There was quiet apprehension on the faces of most main family members. They obviously had concerns about the implantation of the new seal and what it would mean for their roles in the clan. The branch family, on the other hand, was looking at Hayashi in disbelief. They were seemingly waiting for a catch to be introduced. This change has already been given approval by the clan elders. All shinobi will be marked with these new seals in this upcoming month. I have already arranged an appointment with Masakato for myself today, as has my youngest daughter, Hanabi. Hayashi stated sharply. This will usher our clan into a new future, a united future where our clan is stronger than it has ever been. And it will done not under a branch family or main family. It will be accomplished simply by one family, the Hyuga clan. Hayashi then gestured for Niji and Hinata to come forward to his side. Both shinobi did just that, standing directly to his right and left respectively. Hinata and Niji represent the future of our clan, the greatest the main and branch families had to offer. They have become successful jonin despite their young ages and have shown strength I have never seen before in Hyuga shinobi. The clan head noted. He looked at his daughter, who simply nodded her head, smiling at him, which urged him to continue. With that in mind, and with Hinata's blessing, I will usher this new generation forward with a new heir, a branch family who will be able to take the mantle with ease. I would like to take this moment to present to you all the young man who will take my place as clan head one day, Hyuga Niji. Niji's eyes widened in shock as he turned to face his uncle. What dash? He could not even finish his statement before loud noise filled the entire courtyard. Niji turned his attention back to see every single branch family clapping their hands, screaming and shouting in approval. He even noticed a few of the members had tears in their eyes as they looked at him. Niji's mouth seemed to open slightly in shock as he turned his head to face his cousin. Hinata, the clan would succeed easily with you as the clan head. You have the birthright. You have the strength, Niji said, shaking his head in disbelief. Why did you and Hayashi-sama do this? Niji and I-san, didn't you just hear my father's speech? There's no such thing as birthrights in the clan anymore, no branch or main families. We're all just Hyuga. And what better way to show it? Hinata said with a bright smile, tears developing in her own eyes. You're a more traditional Hyuga. You're an excellent shinobi as well, and you'd give me a run for my money in a fight nowadays. You have a much more neutral, focused mind when it comes to political situations. You also understand the feelings of the branch family, more than I could ever hope to. You're the perfect person to finish bridging the gap. You'll make the perfect clan head. Niji's eyes started to widen further, simultaneously filling with tears. He then reached out to his cousin and pulled her into a hug of his own, one Hinata was quick to return. Hayashi and Masakato looked out into the crowds of Hyuga shinobi. There was still concerns. The main family Hyuga still seemed apprehensive, and there was always a risk of some branch family shinobi going rogue now that they were going to be free of the cursed seal. However, Hayashi knew these were going to be minor concerns. This was the beginning of a new generation for the Hyuga clan. Things were finally going to move forward for a clan that had always been rooted in its traditions. Shikamaru was breathing heavily to himself, sweat come off his face, as he looked around himself in Training Ground 17. The area around him had scattered fires on the ground that were starting to dissipate. He brought his hands together into a hand sign, but he stopped himself as he began to hear footsteps. He turned his head and saw Naruto walking towards him. A smirk developed on his lips as he wiped the sweat off his face. Thanks for meeting up with me, Naruto, Shikamaru said. How was training your students? Good, although we cut training short today. The Hyuga clan made their big announcement today about the clan changes and Hanabi needed to be there, and I didn't really feel like training Katsumi and Kanji without her, Naruto admitted with a chuckle. I don't really want there to be some training disparity amongst the group. Makes sense. Shikamaru nodded his head in understanding. You've just been here waiting for me? The Uzumaki let a smirk develop on his lips. Seems like you've worked up a sweat already. I have, and I intend on working up another one in a moment. Shikamaru said a chuckle. Regardless, now that you're here, I'd like to ask if I can try a new jutsu I just invented. The Jinchuriki's eyebrow raised at the question. When Shikamaru had asked Naruto if he could meet up for some training, Naruto assumed that he meant he wanted to spar or something. He was unaware Shikamaru was experimenting with the jutsu. How long have you been working on it? He questioned. A little over 2 years, actually. It's been an idea of mine for a little bit, and my dad, Enko-sensei, and Kohara-sensei helped give me ideas on how to make it work. And I think I finally got it ready. Shikamaru stated. First thing though, can you make me a shadow clone? Naruto nodded his head in understanding and made a singular hand sign. In a poof of smoke, a clone of Naruto appeared. The clone proceeded to grimace as it walked away from Shikamaru, crossing its arms. This is going to hurt, isn't it? The clone questioned. Unfortunately, it will. Shikamaru nodded his head. Shadow Possession Jutsu. Shikamaru's shadow rushed forward towards the clone, quickly trapping it. The clone was now stuck, unable to move. Shikamaru then proceeded to change hand signs the clone quickly replicated. Fire Style, Shadow Ignite Jutsu. Fire spontaneously arose from Shikamaru's shadow, completely covering every inch entirely. Only Shikamaru's body was unscathed, everything else was consumed in the large, red flames. Naruto's clone did not have the time to react. It was unable to move as the flames completely encased it. It immediately dissipated. The original Naruto proceeded to shiver, as memories of the clone entered his mind. Damn. He mumbled, shaking his head. He looked over at his best friend in amazement. That's actually really cool. The shadow still managed to hold my clone in place even when the flames came out. There was nothing it could do. Heh. Good. Shikamaru's smirk grew as he pocketed his hands. I wanted to try it on one of your clones to see if it could resist the shadow. I've experimented with the jutsu on immobile objects like rocks and stuff, but I needed to see how it worked on an actual shinobi. The problem is that this technique is a bit lethal to really implement in just a spar or something. I mean, to be fair, we've both thrown out worse in spars. As has Hinata, Enko, Dosu, and everyone. Naruto noted. But I know what you mean. This feels like a finishing blow technique. Meant to be, at least. Or a quick finish, I suppose? Shikamaru stated, his smirk starting to falter. I wanted to make sure it was ready in case of something. Something? The Uzumaki questioned. Ugh, this is troublesome to explain. But we were just talking a little bit about this yesterday, Naruto. The Nara said, frowning. The stuff with Kabuto going on. IWA has a lot of civil problems. The Akatsuki still being a thing. And the fact that it's been a bit too peaceful. I'm honestly expecting something to happen soon. And when it does, I want to be ready to fight and end things quickly. I want to find ways to end whatever battles I get in as quick as possible. Naruto was quiet. His eyes narrowed in on his friend as he recalled conversations the two had with each other. Realization dawned on his face, which caused Naruto to frown as well. This technique, you think it would have killed Karadariki instantly, and would have prevented him from killing the hostages. Naruto noted. That's where this idea came from, yeah? Shikamaru nodded his head. I don't know if it would have worked like that. But I think it would have. And I refuse to let something like that happen again. Naruto remained quiet still as he continued to study his friend. He saw the sadness in Shikamaru's eyes at the reminder of the hostage situation in Kirigakure, but he also noticed the amount of determination in his eyes. A smile developed on the Uzumaki's lips as he gave his friends a thumbs up. Nothing like that will ever happen again. I know you'll stop it. Because you're an awesome shinobi, Shikamaru. Naruto stated. A small smile of his own developed on Shikamaru's face as he returned the gesture, giving Naruto a thumbs up. Thanks. The two were quiet for a second before Shikamaru unpocketed his hands. He then walked a little bit away from Naruto and got into a position to spar. Anyway, I did want you to come out and train with me for more than just a jutsu demonstration. Come on. I haven't gotten a chance to spar with you for a little bit. He stated. Heh. Naruto's smile turned into a grin as he got into a stance of his own. Bring it on! The two friends proceeded to charge forward at one another. A loud knock sounded through the Hokage's office. Jiraiya turned his upward, away from his paperwork, and looked at the door. You can enter. Immediately, the door opened, and a little red-haired girl rushed in. Jiraiya smiled at her, as she quickly rushed over to the chair in front of his desk and took a seat. "Hello, how can I help you?" the Hokage said cheerfully. "I don't believe I've met you before. What's your name?" "Setsuko," the little girl replied, just as cheerfully. "It's really nice to meet you, old creepy guy." Jiraiya's smile immediately dropped, and his eyes began to twitch. Before he could even comment on her choice of words, two more figures walked into the room, an older red-haired man he had never met, and a red-haired young woman that he was too familiar with. "Setsuko, that goes beyond just rude. Don't say things like that to him," the man chided as he rushed over to her side. He quickly bowed his head. "Please forgive my daughter. She's a very impressionable person and there's no need to worry. I can see where she picked up language like that," Jiraiya stated as he focused in on the third person. "Tayuya, for crying out loud, can't you at least give people a good impression of me when you talk about me? Hey, I've said nothing but good things. That's why she was so happy to meet you," Tayuya replied with a knowing smirk. The Hokage took in a deep sigh. "I swear to God, no Uzumaki respects authority in the slightest." He remained still for just a moment before he composed himself. His eyes moved towards the man Tayuya had brought to Konoha. "So I am aware of Tayuya's personal objective. I take it you and the little girl here are Uzumaki, correct?" Jiraiya questioned. "Yes, we are." The man nodded. "My name is Uzumaki Susumu, and this is my daughter, Uzumaki Setsuko." "Hi again," the little girl said cheerfully. Jiraiya's smile turned to her again. "How old are you, Setsuko-chan?" 7. Setsuko replied, grinning. "Tayuya-san said I was old enough to join the ninja academy, and I really want to be a cool, awesome ninja." "You want to be a kunoichi, huh?" A chuckle escaped the Hokage's lips. "I can see it now. You're going to be a splendid ninja." "Yay!" The little girl clapped her hands together as she turned to her father. "Hear that, Dad? He knows I'm going to be a splendid ninja. He's the Hokage, Setsuko-chan, so he knows a few things." Susumu replied with a light chuckle. The Hokage then turned his attention back to the man. "So, if you don't mind me asking, can you let me know some personal information? Just a little backstory of you and your life." "Well, I am 36 years old. My parents left Yuzushiogakure during the invasion when I was really young, so I don't recall much of life back then," Susumu stated. "My family moved to Mizuno-kuni and thought to blend in with the civilians there. This ended up not being the best idea, though, with Kirigakure being the way that it was. Eventually, my parents were killed by rogue Kiri shinobi. I should have probably left the country then, but I was stubborn and didn't want to move to another new place. So I just simply found a civilian village to live in and stayed there for years. I found ways to hide my lineage." "So you stayed in Mizuno-kuni the entire time?" Jiraiya asked. Susumu nodded his head. "I was stubborn and simply did not want to travel anymore. By the time I had Setsuko, I was beginning to debate whether or not we should leave, as I didn't think the country was safe to raise a child in. By the time I had committed to the idea of moving, however, the war finally ended." A small smile developed on his lips. "But at this point, I was now more than willing to move. And once I met Tayuya-san and she told me about an Uzumaki clan in Konoha, I was more than willing to move here. A village like this is best for Setsuko." "Well, I'd like to think so. I think we'll provide a good place for your family," the Hokage said. He then pulled out a blank scroll and began to open it. "I'll make arrangements to have you two be welcome into Konoha as citizens. I do have one more question, though. Your daughter has stated that she wants to become a shinobi. Do you have any desires to do so? I know you said you hid among civilians, so I am not fully certain whether or not you have had any shinobi training. I was trained by my parents, and I have found ways to keep training in private," the Uzumaki father stated. "I am probably Jonin level in skill, but if you wish for me to demonstrate my abilities, I am more than willing to do so. I'd also be more than willing to be instated as a shinobi in general. I'd be more than willing to have you join our ranks. I'll arrange to have a private session with you later so I can assess your skills." "Fair." Susumu nodded his head. "I have a few more things I'd like to talk to Jiraiya about. If you two want, you both can go explore Konoha," Tayuya said with a smile. "Just walk around. When I finish, I'll find you and I can take you both home." "Of course." Susumu again nodded his head. Let's go explore Setsuko. Maybe we can go get something to eat. Ooh, okay. Maybe we can find a good seafood place, Setsuko said as she got out of her chair. She then waved at the Hokage. Bye. With that, the Uzumaki father and daughter proceeded to walk out of the room. Tayuya proceeded to walk over to the chair and take a seat herself. If they think they're gonna find a good seafood place to eat that compares to the stuff in Mizuno Kuni, good luck. Tayuya chuckled. You never know. Konoha might have something they like, Jiraiya said as he began to write down information in the blank scroll about Susumu and Setsuko. You probably added another hour or two to my paperwork today, but I'll have their citizenship stuff worked out. I'll also have Setsuko's entrance to the academy worked out as well. That's great to hear, Tayuya stated with a grin. Her face quickly fell, however, as she brought her hands together. You can do the paperwork later, though. I've got something big to talk about. Jiraiya dropped his pen and pushed the scroll to the side, his face turning serious as well. Did Itachi speak with you? Yup. She nodded her head. I have a report to give on Akatsuki. They're working towards a big attack against Kumogakure. When? He questioned. During the next Chunin exams, Tayuya replied as she rolled her eyes. They're pulling off Orochimaru's bullshit. Only this seems more likely to succeed. Their goal is to stir up chaos in the village, while the village is already distracted with the Chunin exams, while they capture the Niabai and Hachibi Jinchuriki. And they believe they'll be able to accomplish this? Jiraiya questioned. The Hokage was familiar with both Jinchuriki. Niyujuto, the Niabai Jinchuriki, was considered one of the top shinobi of Kumogakure, and Killer Bee, the Hachibi Jinchuriki, was the brother to the Yondaime Reikage and was considered unstoppable in combat alongside his brother. Neither were shinobi to take lightly. They have a plan for this, Tayuya noted as she started to relax in her chair. From what I understand, their leader should be leading this attack. You mean the shinobi that Itachi refers to as Pain? Jiraiya frowned in response. Yup. She nodded her head. Jiraiya remained quiet as he listened to Tayuya continue to give her report. Yashikane, I wish to speak with you. Hayashi spoke. The Hyuga clan head stood outside a door in the main family compound. He stood patiently, waiting for the door to open. Nearly a minute passed by before the door opened. Yashikane walked out of the door, and his eyes narrowed on the man. I was trying to sleep, Hayashi. Make this quick, Yashikane stated. You're still dressed in your robes. Do not lie to me, Hayashi noted, scowling. I notice you did not attend the clan meeting. I already knew what the topic was, and you already know my stance on the matter. I felt my presence was unnecessary, Yashikane replied simply. I assume it was welcome to you, Niji, and Hinata that I was not there. I meant for the whole clan to be there. That includes you, Hayashi said, shaking his head. You need to quit this, father. Quit what? I've acquiesced to your new seal already, the Hyuga clan elder stated sharply. I'll even make an appointment with Masakato-san to get my own seal. I'm not referring to your acceptance. You know precisely what I meant. His son sighed. Father, the Hyuga clan today is still the clan you led. You cannot act as if you are not a part of it any longer. I disagree with this, Hayashi. Yashikane crossed his arms. You know my stance. I will stand proudly claim to be a Hyuga, but I am not going to simply pretend to be a part of this change you, your daughter, and your nephew are bringing. You are aware that they are your grandchildren, yes? You should not speak with such a harsh tone when referring to them, Hayashi commented. You should also not resent them for what they are doing. They are simply trying to better the clan in a way that both you and I failed. Yashikane immediately turned around and re-entered his room. He proceeded to shut the door, but Hayashi extended his hand, catching the door before it could shut. Father, their goal is to eliminate the circumstances that caused Izashi's death. There is no harm in that, Hayashi stated. Yashikane said nothing. He did not turn back to face his son. Instead, he proceeded to walk further into his room. Hayashi watched his father go to his bed and lay down. The two were silent for 5 minutes. Coming to the conclusion that conversation was over, Hayashi shook his head. I'll repeat myself. Do not resent your own grandchildren for correcting our clan's mistakes, Hayashi said as he proceeded to close the door. Good night, father. With those words, Hayashi started to walk away. Yashikane was still in his bed as he listened to his son's footsteps. When they finally stopped, and he was no longer anywhere near him, tears started to fall Yashikane's face. He remained crying like that for hours until he managed to fall asleep. Fucking hell, Shikamaru. Naruto rubbed his head. That was brutal. The moon was in the sky as Naruto walked back to the Uzumaki clan compound. He and Shikamaru continuously sparred for hours. Shikamaru's knowledge of medical ninjutsu and Naruto's innate ability to heal up allowed the two to continue fighting without end. The only thing that kept them from continuing any longer was both shinobi getting hungry. It was still enjoyable, though. Naruto had not fought with Shikamaru in a while, and it was good to have a sparring partner like that in a while to keep him on his toes. The Uzumaki's thoughts moved to Hinata, as he realized it had been equally as long since they both sparred as well. I'll ask her next time. She's surely gotten better. She kicked so much ass yesterday. He smirked. With those thoughts, Naruto continued on his way back to his clan compound. It took him 20 minutes to get back to the clan compound, and he walked into the main building, heading towards the kitchen to get himself something to eat. As he walked into the building, he heard two different people laughing, one voice that he recognized as Masakato's and another that sounded like a young girl. A confused look developed on his face as he proceeded to make his way through the hallways of the building. When he arrived in the compound, he saw Masakato sitting down at the dinner table, sitting next to a young, red-haired girl. Both had plates of sushi and tempura shrimp that were half-eaten. Standing off to the side was Masamune and another red-haired man, both holding empty plates. I can't believe you went up to him and just told him his hair looks like a duck's butt, Masakato stated, laughing loudly. You have no filter, kid! I love it! She does, and she needs to refrain from making comments like that. The other red-haired man commented, frowning slightly. I didn't mean anything bad by it. The little girl replied, pouting as she took a bite of one of the shrimp tempura. She quickly swallowed it before continuing to speak. I just had never seen that before and I wanted to know if he did that on purpose. Maybe he just likes ducks. I'm sure he probably hates ducks now. Masakato continued to cackle. God, I wish I could have seen the Uchiha's face. Oh. They're talking about Sasuke. Naruto snickered to himself, recalling the first time Kiba brought up Sasuke's hair. I always wondered what his reaction would be to someone saying that. Naruto's snicker caused the group to turn their attention to him. Masakato smirked as he held up a full plate of food. Well, look who's finally home! Masakato exclaimed. Finally, was wondering when you'd get here. Come enjoy a plate and say hello to our new family. New family? Naruto blinked in surprise. Realization quickly dawned on him. A large smile developed on his face as his eyes from the red-haired man to the little girl, who was starting to get out of her chair. We just arrived earlier today. Masakato has told us a lot about you, Naruto, the red-haired man stated with a smile. It's so nice to meet you. My name is Susumu and the little girl is my daughter Setsuko. We're both Uzumaki dash. Before he could finish his introduction, the young girl, Setsuko, quickly tackled Naruto to the ground, pulling him into a tight hug, giggling as the two fell down. Naruto was quick to return it, laughing as well. It's really nice to meet you, Naruto and I-san. She exclaimed. Masakato-ji-san said you're a super special awesome shinobi. You got to show me what you can do. I want to be an amazing shinobi too. He has, huh? A smirk developed on Naruto's face as he pulled both him and Setsuko off the ground. Well, I hope I don't disappoint you then. It's nice to meet you too, Setsuko-chan. Oh? So you're back, finally? About fucking time. Naruto and Setsuko broke their embrace. The Jinchuriki turned his head back to the door to the kitchen to see Tayuya standing there, grinning, holding a bronze-colored flute in her left hand. Tayuya, can you not curse in front of my daughter? Susumu commented, frowning. Yeah? Sorry. The spy master of Konoha said sheepishly. Heh. Good luck with that. She has even less of a filter than Setsuko. Masamune mumbled under his breath with a chuckle. What was that, Masamune? Tayuya stated quickly, glaring at her cousin. The blacksmith immediately looked downward, poking his fingers together, which caused her to chuckle. That's what I thought. Now dash. Tayuya was interrupted as Naruto quickly brought her into a hug. The wide grin on his face was developing even further. You're back, Tayuya-ne, he exclaimed. And you brought back more Uzumaki. Of course I am. And of course I did. Again, Konoha is the birthplace for the next generation of Uzumaki. Tayuya stated as she returned the hug. Good to see you again, Naruto. The two cousins broke their hug. Tayuya then proceeded to walk over to Setsuko and extended the flute out to her. Now, Setsuko-chan, did you want to actually learn how to play the flute? 'Cause we can start lessons now, if you want, Tayuya offered. Sure! Setsuko clapped her hands together excitedly. A little kid learning an instrument. This ought to be interesting, I guess. Masakado mumbled to himself, a slight nervous expression on his face. He then turned his attention to Naruto and gestured to him. Kid, come on over and eat! Sushi is actually not that bad and the tempura is still warm. Naruto walked over to the table and sat down next to the elder Uzumaki. He then proceeded to eat his food while Tayuya began to show Setsuko how to play the flute. He watched the little girl, who he now knew as his cousin, struggle to play different notes as Tayuya began to carefully instruct her, looking like an older sister. He watched Sasuma and Masamune talk to each other casually. He watched Masakado, who was also simply just looking at the other Uzumaki in the room. More time has gone by and the Uzumaki clan in Konoha was starting to feel more like a family than it ever had. It was a feeling that Naruto was cherishing more and more with each new addition to the family. Chapter 70, Team 3 Reunited. Hey, slow down! Stop running! Iruka shouted as two kids, both around the age of 10, bolted through the hallway of the academy. Both kids did not slow down as they stormed into one of the classrooms. Iruka sighed, rubbing the temples of his eyes in annoyance. He would yell and punish them in around 15 minutes, when class officially started. The academy instructor continued to watch as more and more students began to arrive at the academy, entering their respective classrooms and talking to their classmates. His attention was diverted, however, as he noticed a new arrival rush through the hallway. She was a young girl with long, curly red hair and bright blue eyes. She wore a blue t-shirt that had the Uzumaki clan's spiral symbol on the front and a pair of gray shorts that went just past her knees. Hi! You're Iruka-sensei, right? She quickly stated. It's nice to meet you. My name's Setsuko and Setsuko-chan, stop running through the halls. Iruka-sensei hates that. Iruka turned his attention upwards to see that Naruto was following her. Setsuko pouted in response, crossing her arms. Iruka's eyes moved from her to Naruto before he proceeded to chuckle and look downward to the girl. It's alright, I'm not upset or anything. Just try not to make a habit of that, okay? He told her. It's nice to meet you, Setsuko. You're just starting here today, aren't you? Her pout immediately went away as the little girl beamed at the academy instructor. Uh-huh. Your classroom is actually just over there, Iruka said, pointing to a room 2 doors down the hallway. Class is going to start soon, so feel free to go inside and introduce yourself to some of your classmates if you want. Or if you'd rather, you can stay with me and I can introduce you. No, it's okay, I'll do it myself, she said excitedly. Bye Naruto and I-san. Setsuko turned her body and seemed as if she was about to bolt forward, but she looked back and stared at Iruka. She then turned around again and began to walk, albeit at a fast pace, towards the room. When she entered the classroom, Iruka chuckled to himself as he turned his attention back to Naruto. I received notice from Hokage-sama that I was getting an Uzumaki as a student, but I couldn't really believe it at first. I'm starting to see it now, Iruka noted. She seems just as excitable as you were. For your sake, I hope she's not, Naruto said with a laugh. I wouldn't mind her being a handful in the way that you were. You still are one of the most rewarding students I've ever had to teach. I'd be more than happy if she turned out to be half the shinobi you were, Iruka said with a smile. Regardless, I'm glad to see you have picked up a little sister, it seems. I'm just as glad, Naruto said, returning Iruka's smile with one of his own. She and her father have only been in the village for a week, but it already feels like they've been here forever. It feels nice having them here. The academy instructor nodded his head. That's what family is like. I'm really happy for you, Naruto. Thanks. The blonde-haired Uzumaki smiled back. Anyway, I was just taking her to school. I actually have to go meet up with my team for training now. But it was nice to see you. Make sure to not show her anything too cool, otherwise she's not gonna shut up about it later tonight. A chuckle escaped his lips as he started to turn away, waving goodbye. Later, Iruka-sensei. Iruka waved goodbye to his former student. His smile seemingly widened as he studied Naruto as the Jonin faded from distance. He shook his head, chuckling to himself. One of these days, he'll probably come to the academy to escort his own child to my class. Iruka noted with a small smirk. Who knows, though? Maybe by that time, he'll be escorting that kid wearing the Hokage's robe and hat? With a chuckle, Iruka turned his attention back to his students. Immediately, his eyes twitched as he noticed the same 10-year-old kids from earlier running again through the hallway. Hey! What did I say about running through the hallway? You can come in. At the sound of the affirmative response, Hyuga Hayashi proceeded to open the doors to the Hokage's office. He walked into the room and saw Jiraiya, standing, shaking hands with another shinobi. He was a tall man with shaggy red hair. He wore a black long-sleeved shirt and a pair of gray tight-fitted pants. The man was shaking the Hokage's hand with his right hand, while his left hand clutched onto the standard Konoha flak jacket and Konoha forehead protector. Both men turned their attention towards Hayashi, who bowed his head in response. Forgive my intrusion, Hayashi said. I can leave if you wish to speak later. No, it's fine. Susumu and I were just finishing up here anyway, Jiraiya said with a chuckle. Hayashi, this is Uzumaki Susumu, a newly appointed jonin to our village. Uzumaki, huh? A small smirk developed on Hayashi's face. He had heard from both Hinata and Naruto about the arrival of two new Uzumaki, a father and daughter. He was finally meeting one, it seemed. I am Hyuga Hayashi. It is an honor to meet you. The honor is all mine, Hayashi-san. Susumu bowed his head. He then turned his head back to the Hokage. It seems like you two have some business, so I'll leave you both to it. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Jiraiya-sama. I greatly appreciate it. Hey, I'm not giving you any opportunity. You showed me that you deserve to be a jonin. Jiraiya chuckled in response. The Uzumaki shook his head. You opened up your village to me and my daughter. You're giving Setsuko a real home that she can grow up in. And I greatly appreciate that. With those words, Susumu bid farewell and left the room, leaving Jiraiya and Hayashi alone. Jiraiya proceeded to take a seat at his desk again while Hayashi took the seat across from the desk. He seems rather pleasant, Hayashi noted. He's very atypical for all Uzumaki I met. Susumu actually seems fairly introverted and respectful of authority. Who knew that was possible? Jiraiya stated with a laugh. But he's definitely a good shinobi. I tested him yesterday and he's got real skill. That is good to hear, Hayashi said. It was then that Jiraiya noticed the new dark blue seal that was placed on Hayashi's forehead. A knowing smirk developed on his lips as he gestured towards it. Looks good on you, he noted. Thank you? Hayashi nodded his head, a small smile developing on his lips. I thought briefly of covering it up, but I believe I will be following in my daughter's and nephew's example and leave my forehead exposed. I am rather fond of this seal and what it represents. Again, I'm very glad to hear that. I'm honestly very happy for your clan, Jiraiya noted. Silence filled the Hokage's office for a moment. Jiraiya watched Hayashi bring his hands together, the smile on his face fading as quickly as it came. The Hokage proceeded to sigh as his expression turned into a more neutral one. Is something troubling you, Hayashi? He asked. I have a concern, yes. The Hyuga clan head sighed. Hokage-sama, are you familiar with a shinobi named Sai? Sai. Jiraiya said the name with a frown. I know the name, yes. What about him? He was the shinobi who fought alongside my father in the spar with Hinata and Niji, Hayashi said, a scowl developing on his lips. Do you know anything about him? Sai. Sai's a bit of a mystery to me, to be honest. I have a home address for him and I have report on his credentials and skills as a shinobi back from when Sarutobi-sensei was Hokage, Jiraiya noted with a frown. I have nothing really on his past or his time at the academy, nor anything about any family. Based off all the information I have, he just seemingly showed up one day in Konoha. I suspect he is linked to Root, Hayashi noted. Jiraiya nodded his head. I have no proof of that, but I suspect that as well. Root, an organization that the Sandaime Hokage was supposed to have shut down, an operation organized run by Shimura Danzo. The organization prided itself on its secrecy. Only select individuals in Konoha, and anyone unfortunate enough to cross paths with them, but fortunate enough to survive the encounter, were aware of its existence. I am trying to figure out why my father employed one of Danzo's shinobi to work with him. I am also trying to figure out why Danzo would even assist him. Hayashi admitted, frowning slightly. Have you confronted him yet? Jiraiya questioned. Hayashi shook his head. Yashikane will deny the allegations. He won't give any information unless I have proof. Unfortunately, I only have my suspicions. I don't have concrete evidence of anything, Jiraiya admitted with a frown. Only thing I have is reports that suspiciously lack information, but nothing concrete enough to pin him with root. Jiraiya's frown proceeded to deepen as he crossed his arms. I have even less information about Danzo at the moment, and whatever he is planning. While Hiruzen's former advisors, Koharu and Hamura, would come occasionally to chat with Jiraiya and give him advice, the Godame Hokage had rarely ever seen Danzo since he became Hokage. While he did actively detest the man and was glad to not be around him, it also worried him. Danzo was someone you did not want to run around without some form of surveillance. I see. Hayashi shook his head. He proceeded to stand up and turn to the door. If you do not mind this favor, please be on the lookout for him. I am suspicious of whatever he was doing with my clan and anything he is currently planning. I will try and keep an eye out on him. Jiraiya nodded his head in understanding. If I find anything fishy, I'll keep you updated. The Hyuga clan leader bowed his head before leaving the room, leaving Jiraiya to himself. The Godame Hokage proceeded to sigh as he brought his hands to his forehead. All I want to do right now is do some research for Ika tactics. Ugh, why is this job so stressful? He grumbled to himself. The Hokage remained motionless at his desk. His eyes moved over to some scattered paperwork he was going to have to do. After a few minutes of staring, he proceeded to push his paperwork to the side of his desk and reach below his desk. He pulled out a small green notebook, titled Ika Research Notes, and placed it on the desk. Just as he reached for a pen, a knock sounded on his door. Oh, for fuck's sake! He nearly shouted as he hid the notebook. He was really starting to resent this job. Come in, damn it! Wow, that's not the way you're supposed to speak to one of your top favorite jonin. You're supposed to be happy that I'm back. Jiraiya's eyes softened and a chuckle escaped his lips as Mitarashi Anko opened the door to his office. The woman had an irritated look on her face as she took a seat. Sorry, Anko. I was just wanting some alone time and was expecting it to be someone like Sarutobi-sensei's old teammates. I'll gladly talk to you, he told her. Alone time? Anko repeated the phrase, her irritated look turning into one of disgust. The fuck are you doing in this office? A horrified look developed on Jiraiya's face, which quickly developed into a scowl. Hey, you know I'm not the kind of person to that in this office. I may be a super pervert, but I'm not that perverted. Sure you aren't, Anko replied, shaking her head. Bah. Jiraiya crossed his arms. What do you want, Anko? You wanting to give a report back from that mission you went on with Zabuza? I do, yes. I also have a mission from Kiri that might interest you, if you want to do something similar as well, the Jonin said as she pulled out a scroll. The Hokage remained quiet as Anko began giving him her report. Naruto placed his chopsticks on his finished ramen bowl, pleased. Training had ended and he had just taken his students out for lunch before they go visit the Hokage for any missions. His eyes moved over to them as he watched Hanabi, Katsumi, and Kanji all work on their own bowls. When you all are finished, we can go chat with Ero Sennin and see what missions are available, he told them with a smirk. Furda. Katsumi began to talk with her mouth full of noodles. She quickly swallowed the bite in her mouth before she gave her Jonin-sensei a defiant look. For the love of God, please let us have some form of C-rank mission. I think we deserve at least something interesting. Nothing has really happened since the mission in Suna. Naruto-sensei will see whether or not there's a mission, Katsumi, Kanji commented, snickering. He watched his teammate turn to him with a scowl on his face, which caused his snickering to continue. What? Displeased with that pun? I knew you would be. For fuck's dash. Katsumi's words were cut off as Hanabi proceeded to elbow her, a small frown on the Hyuga's lips. For the love of God, Kanji. Shut up and just eat. Naruto proceeded to snicker, watching his students interact. He was about to open his mouth, but he was stopped as he heard a voice. Naruto. Been a while, man. The Uzumaki turned around to see 4 figures approaching him, Inuzuka Kiba and Akamaru, Haruno Sakura, and Uchiha Sasuke. Nowadays, Kiba wore all black, The shinobi wore a black leather jacket that fit tightly against his chest and black pants. He had grown taller, but any physical changes he had made in the past 2.5 years paled in comparison to Akamaru's changes. The little puppy was now a massive, adult-sized dog. He looked large enough for Kiba, or anyone, to ride. Sakura wore a red sleeveless top and a pair of black shorts underneath a pinkish-gray apron skirt. She also wore a pair of black gloves. The kunoichi also had a satchel-like bag that she was wearing over her shoulders. The bag was a pinkish-gray color that seemed to match her skirt that had the Konoha leaf symbol engraved on it. Sasuke wore a gray short-sleeved shirt underneath a black cloak that had the Uchiha clan crest printed on its back and a pair of dark blue pants. He also wore a pair of blue wrist warmers. The Uchiha also had his hair styled differently. His long black hair was seemingly straightened and covered a portion of his left eye. "Hey Kiba, Sakura, Sasuke. How's it going?" Naruto said cheerfully. The blonde's eyes moved over to Sasuke, particularly his hair, and a smirk began to develop on his lips. "Your hair looks different, Sasuke. It doesn't look like a duck anymore. What happened?" "Ha!" Kiba immediately began to cackle, clapping his hands. "Naruto, can you believe it? This little girl about a week ago went up to his face and just called it a duck's butt. Dude, we talked about it that one day and someone finally said it to him." The Inuzuka proceeded to laugh even harder. It looked as if he was struggling to remain standing. "I've never seen Sasuke look so offended in his life. I've never seen him emote like that before and dash." The Inuzuka was cut off, as Sakura proceeded to smack him on his head. He proceeded to fall to the ground upon impact. He winced in pain as reached for his head. "Ow!" he mumbled to himself. Before he could make any more comment, Sasuke proceeded to kick him in his shin, which caused him to yelp in pain again. "Ow! What the hell, guys? Kiba, quit making fun of Sasuke-kun. His hair looked fine before and you know that," Sakura snapped. She then turned to look at Naruto, scowling. "And don't prod him on. You knew that reaction was coming." "You're right, I'm sorry." Naruto rubbed his head sheepishly. He then turned his attention to Sasuke, who was frowning at him. "I'm sorry about that. Honestly, your hair looks good right now. It'll take some time getting used to it, but it looks good. I wish someone had told me about my hair looking like that before a little girl pointed out to me. But thanks," Sasuke said with a sigh. The Uchiha's eyes moved towards the genin sitting next to Naruto, and his eyebrow rose. "These your students?" "Yup." Naruto nodded his head as he quickly gestured at them. "Guys, meet Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and Inuzuka Kiba and Akamaru, also known as Team 7. Team 7, meet my incredibly awesome and amazing genin team, Hiba Hanabi, Inoue Katsumi, and Yamanaka Kanji." "Hanabi?" Sakura spoke the youngest student's name with a surprised look. "You're Hinata's sister, right?" "Uh-huh." Hanabi nodded her head. "It's an honor to meet you all." "Yo." Katsumi waved at Team 7. Immediately, after hearing Sasuke's first name, an idea for a pun entered Kanji's mind, one based on the last 3 letters of his name. He opened his mouth to make the pun, but his eyes trailed back to Kiba, who was knocked to the ground simply for making a joke about Sasuke's hair. His eyes then turned to Sakura, who seemed particularly defensive of the Uchiha. Deciding it wise to bite his tongue and not risk getting hit himself, the Yamanaka waved his hand instead of saying anything. "Naruto a Jonin-sensei, huh? That just sounds weird." Kiba mumbled to no one in particular. He proceeded to walk forward towards the nearest student, Katsumi, and whispered loud enough so that everyone can hear. "Hey, don't tell Naruto, but if you all want to learn some actual skills, come find me around Konoha and I'll show you what I know as a shinobi." Akamaru barked in agreement. "I heard that, Kiba." Naruto replied, rolling his eyes as he playfully pushed Kiba backwards, away from his students. "Ignore him, he's an idiot. He doesn't have anything to show you that Naruto can't show you," Sakura said with a giggle. Her giggle turned into much louder laughter as Kiba crossed his arms and began to pout. "I honestly doubt any shinobi has much to offer us in comparison," Katsumi said with a shrug. "Naruto-sensei has done an incredible job working with us. I really can't imagine another Jonin-sensei doing as good of a job as him." Naruto turned back to his student with a surprised look on his face. While he was not a particularly modest person and would take credit for the way he was training, he did not know he would go that far. Hearing his own student make such a claim was rather surprising to him. A smile developed on his lips. It was surprising, but it felt nice. Very nice. Well, I'm glad he's doing good with you all. Sasuke spoke up. His eyes then moved to Naruto. I assume you're nominating them for the next Chunin exams then? Huh! The blonde blinked in confusion. Damn right he is! Katsumi stated with a chuckle. We're gonna kick so much ass then! Naruto-sensei's team promoted on their first exam. It's our duty to fulfill that same fate, Kanji said with a shrug. Maybe. I don't know. If we're lucky. It won't be luck, Hanabi commented, turning to her Yamanaka student. If he takes us there, we will surely do well and it won't be because of luck. If? He's definitely taking us, Katsumi said again. Naruto was silent, crossing his arms. He was initially hesitant to nominate his students for their first Chunin exams, since it was occurring in Kumo. However, perhaps they did have a point. He and his own team went through their first exams and learned quite a bit through the experience. Even if he had not been promoted, Naruto felt the experience was overall worth it for his development as a shinobi. I guess I'll think about it. Naruto spoke up, answering Sasuke's question. I suppose it's not our business to ask, anyway, Sasuke said. He then turned around and started to walk away from the restaurant. Enjoy your food. Sakura, Kiba, and I were on our way to training, so we should be getting back to that. Both Sakura and Kiba blinked in response as they turned to see that Sasuke was, indeed, heading away from Ichiraku's. They quickly bowed their heads. Nice to meet you all. Hope you all have a good day, Sakura replied as she hurried off. Yeah, same. All seriousness, Naruto's a great guy. You have a great sensei, Kiba added as both he and Akamaru went behind as well. Team 9 was left alone for a moment. The three genin watched the older shinobi walk away for a brief moment before they shook their heads. That Sasuke guy isn't the most social, is he? Kanji noted. Actually, he was pretty talkative just then. Naruto commented with a chuckle. He must have been in a good mood before I reminded him about the duck hair. Talkative? He barely spoke, Katsumi said incredulously. Talkative for him. Naruto amended his statement. He then looked over at his genin. Well, are you all done eating? Let's go bother Ero-sennin for another mission. His three genin students nodded in agreement. Naruto quickly paid Tsuchi and Team 9 marched forward, heading towards the Hokage's office. I approve of the mission. Jiraiya nodded his head as he pulled out a scroll. I'd like to give you a scroll of my own to give to Shibuki, as well, to propose an alliance between Konoha and Taki. I figured you would, Anko said with a chuckle. Question though. Do you know if anyone in my old squad is out of the village right now, or are they all available for this mission? Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru are all available right now, yes. The Hokage noted. His eyebrows rose. You want to bring your old genin for nostalgia's sake? Sorta. The Jonin admitted sheepishly. Well, I do think Naruto is important to bring along if we're going to be meeting with the Nanabai Jinchuriki. It'll make developing a friendship with her easier. I just figured, since I was going to probably get Naruto for the mission as well, I'd see if Hinata and Shikamaru are available as well, Jiraiya finished with a small smirk. I understand that sentiment. Yes, I am fine with that. Naruto will have to make some arrangements for someone to watch his genin students while he is away, but that can be done. The Hokage then lifted his hand. Would you mind if you give me a day or two to get my scroll ready to send to Shibuki before leaving for the mission? Of course. Just tell me when's good to go, Anko said with a smile. Thanks a lot, Jiraiya. Appreciate it. Anko bowed her head and went to the door. She opened it and proceeded to walk outside the Hokage's office. She then proceeded to bump her head against Naruto's. Hey, watch where you're going, Anko cut herself off as she noticed her blonde student, along with the three genin following him. A smirk developed on her lips. Well. Look at this Jonin-sensei. How's it going? Anko-sensei. Naruto grinned at the woman. How are you doing? How was the mission for the 7 swordsmen? Took way too long for what it was, but it was good. We killed Raiga and have already replaced him, so the only traitor left is Kisame. Once he's dead, a full new generation of the 7 swordsmen can be formed, Anko said with excitement. Her eyes then trailed backwards to his genin. Anyway, I have some things I need to get ready and you've got some Jonin-sensei stuff to do. We can catch up later and you can properly introduce your brats to me. Of course. Naruto nodded his head in understanding. Later, Anko-sensei. The seven swordsmen of Kirigakure member nodded her head as she rushed off, beginning preparation for another mission outside of Konoha. Sensei? Katsumi repeated the word as she looked at Naruto. Was that your Jonin-sensei, Naruto-sensei? That she was. And she's the best one in this village, to be honest. Naruto said with a chuckle. Well, I guess second best now. I am a Jonin-sensei now, after all. I resent that. I was clearly the best Jonin-sensei of the village, Jiraiya spoke up from his office. I trained the fucking yandame, after all. A chuckle escaped Naruto's lips as he and his genin proceeded to walk into the Hokage's office, looking for a mission. You gave them the Tora mission again? Hinata looked at her boyfriend in shock. Naruto-kun, don't torture them. That's sort of fucked up, you know that? Shikamaru added. The three friends had agreed to meet up in a small civilian park in Konoha to relax later that evening. It was a full park, with swing, slides, monkey bars, and other things for kids to climb, but the sun was starting to set, so no kids were in sight. It was simply the three of them. Naruto was swinging on one of the swings, getting rather high into the air. Hinata was sitting down on the swing next to him but was not swinging, she was just sitting down. Shikamaru, on the other hand, was lying down on the ground by a nearby tree. In my defense, I did ask Erosenin for a C-rank mission, but he told me that there was no short-term C-rank missions available right now. And apparently he has a mission that he wants me to go on in the next couple of days. Naruto said with a grumble. Which that's kinda annoying. I'm going to have to find someone to look after my genin while I'm away on this mission. Did he tell you anything about the mission? Shikamaru asked. No. He said someone else would fill me in. Naruto said with a sigh. I hate when he doesn't tell me things. I think it's just him getting back at me for calling him Erosenin. You know. 'Cause he's a pervert. Hinata proceeded to giggle. I know Jiraiya-sama is your godfather, but it still surprises me he tolerates you saying that nickname in front of other people. 'Cause deep down, he likes it. That's the only explanation. The Uzumaki noted with a smirk. He'll never admit it, but I know that's the truth. That's like saying I enjoyed being called lazy-ass by Anko-sensei and Kuratsuchi when we were younger. Shikamaru spoke up. I sure as hell didn't, and I can guarantee you that he doesn't either. What? A lazy-ass didn't like being called a lazy-ass? Why's that? Naruto immediately stopped swinging and Shikamaru pulled himself up. The three shinobi turned their heads to see Mitarashi Anko, standing by the park entrance with a smirk on her face as she walked towards them. The hell are you three doing here anyway? It took a lot longer to find you all than I was expecting. She grumbled to them. We're just relaxing. Nothing wrong with that. Naruto said defensively. A smirk developed on his lips. Enjoying being back in Konoha, Anko-sensei? Naturally. I love coming back home after a long mission. She answered. Do anything special in Kirigakure? Shikamaru questioned. How's Zabuza? Huh. Zabuza's fine, I guess? Anko titled her head in confusion. Why do you ask? No reason. The Nara replied with a snicker. Okay. Anko shrugged her shoulders. Anyway, I overheard a little bit about what you all were talking at the end there. Yup, Naruto is going to be assigned a mission in the next couple of days. As are you too, Shikamaru and Hinata. And guess who your leader during the mission is? Hinata looked at the Jonin in surprise. Anko-sensei, really? We're all going on a mission together? Anko nodded her head in response. Just like old times. Team 3 is reunited again, damn it. A wide smirk developed on Naruto's face as he nodded his head in approval. Hell yeah. Alright, I'm definitely down. What's the mission? Shikamaru questioned. Just like Naruto, he had a smirk of approval on his face as well. And when is it? Should start either tomorrow or the day after. We're going on a diplomatic mission to Takigakure. Anko noted. We're also going to be meeting with the Nanabai Jinchuriki, and both form some relationship with her, and give her information about Akatsuki. Understood. Naruto nodded his head. The smirk that had been on his face seemingly widened as a thought just entered his head. Nanabai Jinchuriki, huh? Naruto was personally pleased with the relationships he had with all the Jinchuriki he had met so far. Seeing Gaara again and finding out that he was the Kazekage was the most rewarding thing about the mission in Sunigakure for him. The blonde was already excited about this mission and getting the chance to meet another Jinchuriki. I wonder what she's like. Hinata mumbled to herself. The Hyuga had yet to meet a female Jinchuriki and was curious to see what she was like. We'll find out on the mission. I'll fetch you all when it's time for it, Enko said with a smirk. Her eyes then moved over to the Hyuga's forehead, and a confused look developed on her face. Not to change the topic, by the way, but what's on your forehead, Hinata? I don't recall seeing that seal there before. I know that's not your clan's caged bird bullshit, so what is that? Realization dawned on all three former genin of Team 3. They had a lot to fill in for their Jonin-sensei. Sasori and Deidara walked towards a large rock formation, deep within a mountain range in Kaze no Kuni. They both made a singular hand sign, which caused the rock on the rock formation to move apart, revealing an opening to a cave on the inside. Really? A rock blocking a secret entrance? Kabuto commented with a chuckle. That sounds like something out of kids' manga. Deidara turned his head back. The silver-haired shinobi was following the two Akatsuki members, his hands in his pocket. Deidara turned his attention to his partner and elbowed him. You sure the leader is going to be okay with this? He questioned. I have spoken to Zetsu about the topic already and have sent letters to Pain. I am certain there is no issue, Sasori answered. Zetsu was supportive, at least. Deidara crossed his arms. I hope you're right, Sasori no Dana. The two Akatsuki members continued to walk further into the cave, with Kabuto following behind them. They continued to walk for roughly 5 minutes before they stopped in a large, circular room within the cave. In the center of the room was 10 stone pedestals. Deidara and Sasori both walked to 2 of the stone pedestals. Sasori then turned his attention to Kabuto and gestured over to the stone next to him. Put on the ring that you have and make the same hand sign that we make. Follow our example, he explained. Do not speak unless spoken to. I know that is difficult for someone like you, who loves the sound of your voice, but believe me, you will be spoken to quite frequently. I understand. Kabuto nodded his head. As the former right hand of Orochimaru walked to the stone pedestal next to Sasori, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring that was marked with the kanji for sky. He put it on his right hand's ring finger as he stepped onto the pedestal. When he stepped on, Sasori and Deidara proceeded to make a singular hand sign. Kabuto quickly imitated the hand sign. 10 seconds passed by before the room started to glow. Colorful lights began to form above the other pedestals. The lights quickly began to change shape until they resembled silhouettes that resembled the other members of Akatsuki. Immediately, attention was drawn to Kabuto. All 7 other Akatsuki members were staring at him. Do we have a new guy? How interesting. Kisame noted. You are Yakushi Kabuto, yes? Itachi spoke up, his eyes narrowing on Kabuto. Former right hand of Orochimaru and a spy of his on Konoha. I also believe you were Sasori's spy on Orochimaru. Interesting resume. However, how are you here? Kakuzu questioned, his eyes narrowed as well. You should not be able to be here. The jutsu that allows us to meet up in this fashion requires one of the 10 rings of the Jubi. I happen to have one of the rings, actually, Kabuto spoke as he lifted his right hand, showing off the ring. This is the ring that belonged to Orochimaru-sama. After his death, I acquired many of his belongings to aid in my research and personal work. One of the things I obtained was this ring right here. The missing 10th ring. The thing that prevented us from obtaining a 10th member. Kakuzu noted. His eyes seemingly narrowed further. And you're here with it because you want to join the Akatsuki? Sasori and Deidara brought him. I assume they trust him. Kisame noted. Don't lump me in with this. Deidara quickly lifted his hands up, defensively. Sasori no Dana decided this. Sasori sighed, giving his partner a look of annoyance. He took in a deep breath, preventing himself from commenting on Deidara's statement, before turning his head towards the leader of the Akatsuki. As I have mentioned in my letter to you, Kabuto is someone who I have a working relationship with. He was a former spy of mine who has developed more as a shinobi. He's a practical person and is a skilled medical shinobi, which is something our organization lacks. He already possesses one of the rings and is interested in working towards our end goals. I feel it would be fruitful to allow him to join. Sasori explained. Pain was silent, having not spoken a word since the meeting started. He nodded his head in understanding of Sasori's words before turning his attention towards Kabuto. The silver-haired shinobi understood his silent request and began to speak. It is as Sasori-sama has stated. I personally am interested in your end goal, Pain-sama, he said. With Orochimaru-sama dead, I struggled to find a purpose in my life. I decided to continue pursuing his ambition, but I felt I needed more. I am, admittedly, curious about your goal and would like to see if it is the future that I am looking forward to. A small chuckle escaped his lips as he adjusted his glasses. If anything, I am a solid medical shinobi and can perform complicated treatments and transplants. I'm also rather skilled in espionage. I believe I have the skills to be a useful tool for your end goals. Heh. Kisame smirked as Kabuto finished his speech. We'll get along just fine. Nice to work with ya, Kabuto. He seems like he would be rather useful, wouldn't you say, Pain-sama? Zetsu spoke up. I personally support him joining. Well, I don't. Kabuto blinked in response. From behind Zetsu's body developed a new projection. A new silhouette formed, showing a person wearing a spiral mask. No other physical features could be gleaned from their appearance. Strange. Did they not just say that you must be wearing one of these rings to participate in these meetings? How is that person appearing then? Kabuto thought to himself. Pain-sama, you can't seriously be thinking of putting this guy in Akatsuki. I'm the next in line to join, right? Right? You all promised me that I would be able to join when a spot opened up. Zetsu-sama promised. Come on. The masked man began to pout. Please? Please? Let me have his spot. I can fight him if you'd like. Instinctively, Kabuto began to tense up. Before he could say anything, the Akatsuki leader spoke up. Toby, I appreciate your passion for the organization, but I am willing to accept this man's proposition. Pain spoke up as he turned to face Kabuto. Yakushi Kabuto, I resent your former master, Orochimaru, for his treachery. However, you are not him and have returned his ring. You bring skills that could be quite useful towards our end goal. I will also acknowledge Sasori vouching for you. Therefore, I will give you a chance. Consider yourself a member of Akatsuki. A smile graced Kabuto's lips as he bowed his head. I promise, you will not regret this decision. Orochimaru's former right hand seemed as if he was going to continue, but he stopped talking at the sound of sniffling. The mask-wearing shinobi, Toby, appeared to be crying. It also seemed as if you could see the tears despite wearing his mask. I can't believe I was passed up. Wah! He shrieked. Almost instantly, however, the tears dried up and he clapped his hands together. Well, it's okay. I'm sure an opening will develop sooner or later. Maybe Kakuzu-senpai finally finds a way to kill Haiden-senpai. Like hell he will. Haiden shouted, crossing his arms. I'm blessed by Jashin-sama. A heathen like Kakuzu could never hope to kill me. Toby, believe me, I have been looking and will continue to look for a way to kill this man. Kakuzu grumbled, his eyes narrowing now on his partner. Let's get back to business. Pain spoke up. All members of Akatsuki turned silent and focused back on their leader. While adding a new member to Akatsuki is important to discuss, that is not the primary reason I called for this meeting. I wanted to discuss our plans for the future. You referring to the invasion on Kumo? Kisame questioned with a smirk. No. I actually have something else I'd like to accomplish. Pain stated as he turned his head towards Haiden and Kakuzu. You two are the closest shinobi to Takigakure, correct? Bah. Kakuzu crossed his arms at the mention of his former village. I believe we are. We are approximately 3 days away from that shithole. Good. The leader nodded his head in understanding. While I do intend on us carrying out the invasion of Kumo, we still have some time before the Chunin exams. I believe it would be beneficial for us to capture one of the Jinchuriki at this time. We currently do not have any captured and I believe we can rectify that. So you want us to go take the one in Taki, right? Haiden questioned. Why that bitch? Couldn't we do one of the others? It is to our benefit that we go after her. The figure next to Pain, the blue-haired woman next to him, spoke for the first time all meeting. Unlike the other Jinchuriki, with the exception of the Rokubi Jinchuriki, she is the only one who could feasibly go missing without drawing attention. Taki has been particularly secretive with her identity and many people do not know her identity. It would be rather simple for us to simply kidnap her without drawing much attention. So Haiden and I are going to sneak in and bring her back to take the Nanabai. Kakuzu noted. Humph. I can't believe I'll be stepping my feet back in that wretched village. But I'll accept. I'd be more than willing to take down any Taki shinobi, as well. I'd prefer you not draw much attention in the process, but do whatever it takes to obtain her, Pain suggested. With pleasure. A smirk developed underneath Kakuzu's mask. 2 days had passed. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru stood in front of the gate to Konoha, all carrying their bags and equipment. Each of them had an excited look on their face. Who did you end up getting to watch over your students while you're away, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked the blonde. A friend of mine, Naruto said with a snicker. Hinata waited a brief second for him to elaborate further, but he did not. She proceeded to frown, pocketing her hands with a sigh. I hope you did not give them someone too bad. I would personally like to not hear my sister rant about you, you know? In all seriousness, I got them someone who would take care of them. They'll be fine, he told her. You three ready? Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru turned around to see Anko walking towards them. The purple-haired shinobi was grinning as she looked out on each of her former students. Nostalgic, huh? This'll be just like old times, Anko said cheerfully. Going out a mission with Whiskers, Stutters-chan, and Lazy Ass, with the badass and sexy Mitarashi Anko leading the charge. Except I don't stutter as much anymore. Hinata commented with a giggle. Or at all, really, and I swear to God, if one of you calls me Lazy Ass again, especially nowadays. Shikamaru grumbled to himself. Ah, lighten up. You know I'm just screwing around, Anko said with a chuckle. Anyway, let's get on moving then. Team 3 is back in action. Right. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru all spoke simultaneously. With those words, the 4 shinobi moved through the gates of the village and headed in the direction of Takigakure. Omake 7, your temporary sensei? Hey guys, so Ero-sennin has a mission for me that he needs me to go on, so I'm going to be out of the village for a little bit. Don't worry, I got someone to work with you all while I'm away. He's a good friend of mine and someone who actually helped train me back when I was a genin, so I know he'll do you all good. Just make sure to meet him at this address. I'll be looking forward to seeing you all when I get back. None of you better slack off in your training when I'm gone. Hanabi, Katsumi, and Kanji all remembered Naruto's words when he left. While a little disappointed, they understood that he was needed for a mission and accepted it. They also were intrigued and curious to meet this temporary Jonin sensei that they would be working with. It was to their surprise, however, when the address directed them to the headquarters for the Torture and Investigative Department of Konohagakure. It was to their greater surprise when, upon mentioning Naruto's name, the genin were immediately directed into a small, dark room with only one other person. Now, let this be clear. Marino Ibiki started to speak slowly. I do not know how Naruto instructed the 3 of you, but I can assure you that I am nothing like him. I will not tolerate being spoken back to. I will not tolerate laziness, or anything that I perceive to be laziness. I will not tolerate stupid questions. I am of the firm belief that, upon graduating from the academy, no shinobi should be treated with kid gloves, and I intend to follow through with that philosophy. My training will be brutal. You may call it cruel. Ibiki proceeded to make 5 hand signs slowly as he continued to speak. If you all wish, you can run home to Naruto-sensei when he gets back. But until he returns to Konoha again, you're my students and I will ensure that you will become the shinobi that I feel you 3 need to become, whether or not my training breaks you or not. He then proceeded to finish his hand signs and slammed his palm on the ground. Summoning, torture chamber. Large iron bars quickly developed from the ground and surrounded the 4 shinobi in the room. Holy shit. Katsumi mumbled under her breath. Her hand went instinctively to her sword, but her fingers were trembling as it went towards it. She was unable to properly grip onto it, at the moment. This. Hanabi mumbled to herself, trying to verbalize the amount of horror she was feeling. She felt herself growing sick and was struggling with the urge to throw up. I knew I was going to die one day. I just figured it would be against an enemy shinobi. I didn't think a Konoha shinobi would be the one to kill me. Kanji's mind was racing a mile a minute as the Yamanaka tried to calm himself down. A smirk developed on Ibiki's face as he looked at the terror on the 3 genins' faces. He had always intended on giving this exact speech and demonstration if, for whatever reason, the Hokage ever assigned him a genin team. When Naruto had asked him for this favor, he was more than willing to accept, if for no other reason than to finally perform this idea of his. The current head of the Tianite department would take his temporary Jonin sensei status seriously and would train the three to the best of his abilities in a more relaxed environment. However, seeing their reactions to him, in this very moment, made everything worth it. Perhaps I should ask the Hokage for a genin team of my own when the next group of academy students graduate, he thought to himself. A malicious grin developed on his face as he still focused on the horror of Team 9. He would have to find some way to outdo what he just did to them. It would be a challenge, but one that he would be willing to attempt. Chapter 71, Arrival in Takigakure. Oi Kakuzu, the hell are we doing? Haiden shouted. Kakuzu did not immediately reply to his teammate. The former Taki shinobi led him to a large, empty lake in Taki no Kuni. The water was crystal clear. However, despite the sun setting in the sky above, the water did not reflect the sunlight at all. Kakuzu proceeded to walk forward towards the edge of the lake and lifted his right hand into a seal. Instantly, a genjutsu was dispelled, revealing a brown, wooden bridge that connected to a little island in the middle of the lake. On the center of the island was a one-story building. Kakuzu proceeded to walk towards the building, with Haiden following behind. Hey asshole, answer my question! Haiden hissed. What the fuck are we doing here? And what is this unholy place anyway? It's a small bar located deep within this country, only privy to those missing ninja who frequent this area. I meet with a few bounty collectors here when I have a bounty to turn in from time to time, Kakuzu answered. However, that's not why I'm here. I'm familiar with a shinobi who tends to come here and I'm expecting him to be here. Haiden scowled, seemingly displeased with Kakuzu's answer, but said nothing. He followed his partner and entered the bar. The inside of the bar was rather crammed, with people filling up any seats at the bar. A lot of them were laughing and making crude jokes and comments while they drowned themselves in sake. Haiden noticed the various forehead protectors that the patrons wore and noticed they all had been slashed. All people inside the bar were missing shinobi. Kakuzu's eyes scanned the bar until they focused on a group of 4 people sitting at a table. The first was a man who wore a forehead protector for Amigekyo that was worn like a bandana, showing only a little bit of his brown hair. He wore a black suit that covered his entire body, going up to his face like a mask, and wore a white t-shirt over his suit. Next to him was a slender-looking woman with short, spiky brown hair that wore a pink top that seemingly only covered her breasts, a light blue shirt over it that was open, only covering her arms, and a pair of blue pants. Next to her was a muscular-looking man that wore a black sleeveless shirt, gray pants, and brown arm warmers. His Amigekyo forehead protector was worn over his chin-length gray hair and he had a teal face paint marking over his nose. The 3 shinobi were all drinking sake on one side of the table. On the other side was a 4th person. He was a man with long, spiky black hair. He had to wear a yellow bandana to keep his hair from his face. The man wore a blue jacket and gray pants. He had a bottle of sake on the table, but he was not drinking. His right hand was rubbing the goatee on his face in contemplation. Kakuzu walked forward towards the table. Suien. It's been a long time. The man, Suien, turned his attention towards Kakuzu. His eyes widened momentarily, recognizing the man. The 3 shinobi at his table also stopped drinking and turned their attention towards him. Kakuzu. He acknowledged the man's name with a slight chuckle. When's the last time you stepped foot in this neck of the woods? A while, Kakuzu answered. He gestured to Haiden, who proceeded to walk forward. This is my associate, Haiden. I would like to know if you're interested in a business deal. I suppose I should introduce my associates. The 3 shinobi sitting with me are Kirasame, Hisame, and Nurasame. They're all gifted aim missing ninja that work for me, Suien stated. The 3 shinobi nodded their head in acknowledgement after being introduced. What business deal are we talking about? Kakuzu reached into his cloak and proceeded to pull out a briefcase. He set the briefcase down on their table, knocking over Suien's drink. A scowl developed on the man's face, but before he could say anything, Kakuzu opened the briefcase, revealing it to be filled with money. Interesting. Suien rubbed his goatee contemplatively. I'm assuming this is your part of the deal. What do you wish for me to do? I would like you and your associates to accompany Haiden and I, Kakuzu said. We are heading to Taki. Taki? The man repeated the village's name with a scowl. I'm surprised you'd want to go back there. You must have some important business there or something. You could say that. Kakuzu shrugged. Regardless, We'll be entering the village. We have an objective, and it would be greatly appreciated if you and your associates could cause some damage around the village to create a distraction. That would be possible. Suyin crossed his arms. I actually hired these three with me for an invasion on Taki that I planned about 3 years ago, in addition to the hundreds of other loyal shinobi I have working with me. The plan was put on hold due to some complications, but Suyin's face turned into a malicious-looking scowl. I suppose this little trip could be useful for us as well. All right. We'll help with that. Haiden watched Kakuzu and Suyin proceed to discuss more things about the mission. He watched the former Taki shinobi give the briefcase over to the man before heading towards the door to the bar. Haiden followed right behind, a confused look on his face. The hell do we need those fuckers for? He questioned. Insurance policy. Pain-sama wants us to get the Nanabai Jinchuriki, but not draw too much attention to our presence unless we are forced to do so. I'm hiring Suyin to assist in creating some chaos in the village while we complete our task. There's a high possibility that, timing this correctly, Taki will blame her disappearance on him. Kakuzu explained as he proceeded to chuckle. He's a missing ninja from Taki as well who hates that shithole village as well. I knew he'd be more than willing to assist with this. Haiden crossed his arms, giving his partner a confused look. Can't believe you actually parted with all that money though. I'll get it back. I'm certain they'll die. I'll just collect the briefcase from Suyin's body when the mission is over. He replied with a shrug. Regardless of if I do or do not get it back, I would just like to ensure some chaos in Taki. Even though we will capture the Jinchuriki, I would like for the village to suffer. Heh. The Jashin worshipper proceeded to laugh as he stared at his partner. I've never seen you this vengeful, Kakuzu. You seem to want the village to really feel the effects of our mission. Oh, I do. A large, malicious grin developed behind his mask. I will not jeopardize this mission. However, if I could accomplish anything while I'm here, I would love to burn Takigakure down to the ground, along with every person in it. A similar grin developed on Haiden's face. It was the first time the man had learned something about Kakuzu that interested him. He was quite pleased with Kakuzu's desires for Taki's destruction, and he was more than willing to help in any way he could. And we made it, Anko said cheerfully. It took 2 days of uneventful travel before Team 3 finally arrived at a large lake. There was a mountain range next to the lake that had a waterfall falling into the lake. A large tree could be seen behind the mountain. The surrounding area was colored with green trees and beautiful flowers. It looks so beautiful out here, Hinata said with a smile. Tell me about it. Naruto nodded his head in agreement. His eyes focused on the waterfall for a moment before he turned his attention to Anko. So, do you know how to get into the village? No, she replied with a chuckle. We got to wait a moment. Shikamaru's eyebrow rose slightly. For? Anko shrugged her shoulders as she looked around the area. Well, whoever is on guard duty at Taki has to sense our presence by now. We just have to wait for them to reveal themselves and let us in. Her former students nodded their heads in understanding. The group waited at the lake for nearly a minute before a shinobi appeared on the center of the lake. It was a tall, skinny man with shaggy red hair. He wore a black long-sleeve jacket with a red checkered pattern on it, and a pair of dark red pants that resembled the color of blood. A scythe was attached to the man's back. He wore a pair of goggles over his eyes and had the Takigakure forehead protector over his neck. Midarashi Anko, Uzumaki Naruto, Hyuga Hinata, and Nara Shikamaru. The man stated their names. He knows our names? Naruto blinked in surprise. He was probably running a background check on us before coming up to us. Probably looked us up in the bingo book. Shikamaru informed him. Naruto's eyes widened. He had never even thought that he might be a shinobi in the bingo book. It made sense now that he would be in the bingo book, but he had never thought about it before. A small smirk developed on his lips as he chuckled. It's probably not the best thing to be in it, but I guess it's proof that I have come a long way since I've started. You're Karyoto Zeija, right? Anko questioned the man. Taki's Jonin commander? I am. The man nodded his head. What business do you four have with Taki? We are here on behalf of Konoha, and I am here also representing Kiri. Anko said as she pulled out her 2 scrolls, showing seals that represented the Hokage and the Mizukage. We were instructed to deliver these to Shibuki and converse with him about its contents. Oh? Seijai's eyes narrowed slightly. And I am assuming you four need to be let into the village. You would not be able to hand them over to me to deliver to Shibuki? The snake summoner shook her head. No, this is for the eyes of Shibuki, only. He nodded his head in understanding as he walked forward towards them. He reached into his jacket and proceeded to pull out 4 dark red bandanas. Tie these around your eyes, if you would please, the man stated. Huh? Naruto blinked in confusion. Why? I will allow you 4 into Taki, but I am not allowing any of you to see the entrance into the village. You will allow me to direct you into it, he replied. My apologies, but this is the rules of my village. No foreign shinobi will ever be given the knowledge to enter our clan. His eyes proceeded to narrow in on Hinata. I trust you will not use your Byakugan. I am an adept chakra sensor, so I will know if you activate your dojutsu, and I will take such an activation as an aggression. I understand. You have my word that I will not use my Byakugan, Hinata replied. And we have your word you're going to do no harm to us? Shikamaru questioned. Naturally. The Taki Jonin scoffed. I would not do something so stupid as to harm you all, especially if you have a message from your Hokage. The Konoha shinobi accepted the bandanas and tied them around their eyes. They were then escorted one at a time towards the lake. Naruto was the last to be escorted. He felt Seijai's hand guiding him into the water. Before he knew it, his body was submerged in the water. The blonde closed his mouth and began to hold his breath as he felt Seijai move his body through the underwater. After a few seconds, the Uzumaki felt himself submerged from the water. Seijai continued to escort him forward until he was no longer in the water. He then felt the man reach for his bandana and untie it. With his eyes now exposed, the blonde proceeded to look around the village in amazement. Whoa! He mumbled to himself. The village of Takigakure was somehow even more colorful than the surrounding area. Various trees and flowers were scattered across the village streets. The lake that he had come out from was splashing alongside the shore of the village, and was just as clear as the lake on the outside. The buildings were very colorful, and people walked down the streets cheerfully, shinobi and civilians alike. Each person appeared to be in a good mood, which seemed to add to color of the village. The village felt alive in a way that Naruto had never seen before. His eyes moved up from the street and noticed a large tree that seemed to eclipse everything. The tree must have gone hundreds of feet up into the sky, and the entire village was seemingly built around it. Its branches extended outward and its leaves created spots of shade across the village. Naruto's eyes traveled from the top of the tree downward back to the streets. He now noticed that brown roots were scattered on certain parts of the street. I've never seen such a beautiful village before, Hinata stated in amazement. Her eyes were focused intently on the large tree. It is breathtaking, isn't it? Seijai commented with a chuckle. This is a peaceful village that has never been invaded by any enemy shinobi, something that no other shinobi nation can say. The natural beauty has never once been disturbed. Your entire village is built on the roots of that large tree, correct? Shikamaru questioned. I'm impressed that the village was able to be built on such a foundation. I'm glad you feel that way. Seijai continued to chuckle. He seemed to be in a much better mood. He waved his hand and smiled at the Konoha shinobi. Anyway, please follow me. I will escort you to Shibuki-sama's residence. The members of Team 3 nodded as they followed the man through the streets of Takigakure. Hey, did you hear? There's some foreign shinobi here in Taki. Since when? How long have they been here? They just got here. I just saw Seijai-sama escorting them. They must be visiting Shibuki-sama. They're from Konoha. Konoha shinobi, huh? That's so cool. I hope you really like our village. Yeah, I hope so too. If they don't interact much with her, they should love the place. True. Ugh, I think I see her now. Hopefully she doesn't notice their presence, and goes back to her home. It would be a disaster if she ruins the image of our beautiful village. A girl with mint green hair, orange eyes, and a rather tan, almost caramel, skin complexion walked down the streets of Takigakure. The girl was wearing a white sleeveless shirt that showed off her midriff, white armlets on both arms, and a white skirt. She had some sort of object in red wrapping that she carried on her back, and a Takigakure forehead protector was visible on her right arm. Civilians were chatting to each other on a bench in front of a cafe, glaring at the kunoichi as she walked down the path, minding her business. They spoke quietly, but she could hear them. A scowl developed on her lips as she shook her head. Why do I fucking bother coming out of home nowadays? She grumbled to herself as she pocketed her hands in a pocket on her skirt. They hate me. I hate them. I swear to God, I need to go on a mission soon. You should ask Shibuki for a mission, Fu. A voice spoke in her head. The kunoichi, Fu, seemed to scoff in response. As if. He's been a pain in the ass recently about me going on missions out of the village. He'll find some excuse, just like he always does. Which is funny, 'cause he's not the one who she's talking to herself. Must be chatting with that demon bug in her head. A civilian stated, loud enough for her to hear. Fu shook her head. She proceeded to cross her arms as she looked up towards the village entrance, towards the lake and towards mountain. With a sigh she brought her hands together. Living here is pain alone, and now I can take no more. In a mountain hamlet, where I must gather kindling, I would make my home. Fu spoke softly, almost as if she were singing. When she finished, a smile developed her lips. What do you think, Komiai? I liked it. However, it was a little too, what's the word? The voice, Komiai, continued to speak. Whiny? Is that appropriate to say? No, it kinda is. Fu grumbled, shaking her head. I'll fix the wording again. Make it sound more poetic and less whiny. The kunoichi was about to continue walking when a thought occurred to her. She recalled the initial conversation she had overheard from the civilians about the arrival of Konoha shinobi. A smile developed on her face as she stared to turn around and walk towards Shibuki's mansion. I'll work on the poem later. For now, I'm going to go see Shibuki after all and maybe get a chance to meet some of those Konoha shinobi, she said cheerfully. Not a bad idea, Komiai responded back. Who knows? Maybe you'll be lucky with them. Maybe they'll be kind, fun people. I mean, they shouldn't immediately know about me being a Jinchuriki. They should at least be sorta polite to me, Fu said with a sigh. But we'll see, I guess. With that thought, the mint-green-haired shinobi proceeded to walk down the village streets. After Zeijai had escorted the shinobi into Shibuki's mansion, the team was escorted to a large open room. There was no furniture in the room, no tables, chairs, or desks. The only items in the room were blue-colored floor mats, with a darker blue raised floor mat in the center of the room. Kneeling on the raised floor mat was the leader of Takigakure. Shibuki was a young man with long brown hair that was tied into a ponytail and black eyes. He wore a yellow kimono jacket, gray pants, a turquoise haori, and a red scarf. The members of Team 3 all bowed their heads at the young man as they proceeded to kneel on the floor mats across from him. A small, gentle smile developed on the leader's lips as he looked at them. I hope your travel here was well and free from hardships, Shibuki told the group. It was an easy journey here. Enko spoke. Your village is beautiful. I have never seen a village like this before. It is amazing, Naruto added with a grin. I'm pleased to hear that. Shibuki chuckled in response. He brought his hands together as he turned to specifically address Enko. His smile remained present, but his eyes narrowed slightly. If you do not mind me asking, did Hokage-sama have something he wished to discuss? Not just the Hokage. I have a message from Mei-sama, Enko added as she reached into her jacket and pulled out her 2 scrolls. She walked forward and set the scrolls down on the ground next to the Takigakure leader. Please, give them a read. Shibuki nodded his head as he reached for them. He proceeded to read the one written by the Hokage first. His eyes widened as he quickly read its content. He finished quickly and then proceeded to open the Mizukage scroll as well. His eyes widened again. The young man remained quiet as he finished reading. He placed both scrolls on the ground and brought his hands together, closing his eyes, as if in deep thought. I've heard rumors of this Akatsuki. He finally spoke. News of their freelance mercenary work spread. They ended up acquiring a decent portion of A and S rank missions that could have gone to a shinobi village such as Taki's. A frown proceeded to develop on his lips. I was unaware that Kakuzu was a member. I was also unaware that they were interested in the Jinchuriki. This is what both Jiraiya-sama and Mei-sama wished for you to know, Enko said as she crossed her arms. Taki has always been an ally of Konoha, but in the event we do go after Akatsuki, we would like to potentially have the backup of your village. Kiri also wishes to enter the same alliance. I am completely fine with strengthening the relationship with my village and both Konoha and Kiri. Shibuki nodded his head. A small sigh escaped his lips as he focused back to the letter of the Mizukage. I would also be willing to allow you all to meet with our Jinchuriki. I'm a little disturbed that you know Fu's name, to be entirely honest. Her identity has been preserved well in our village. That ultimately is a good thing for her. Hopefully Akatsuki does not have the best of info about her. Shikamaru spoke up, frowning as well. However, it's very likely that they do know. It definitely will benefit you to let her know about the organization. I'll be having a long talk with her. Shibuki's frown deepened. I haven't sent her recently on a lot of missions outside of the village, but I know for certain that I will not be able to for a little bit. You haven't? Naruto asked. Why? It's a personal story. I'd rather not elaborate much, the leader said with a sigh. Regardless, you are all more than welcome to stay in the village, and I would encourage you all to meet Fu. She's a bit of a handful at times with her pranks, but she means well. She's a very bright person and one of the strongest shinobi our village has produced in years. Ooh, a prankster? A grin started to develop on Naruto's face. I'd like to see what she's capable of. Before Shibuki could finish his statement, the door to his office was busted open. All shinobi turned their attention to the entrance. Fu was standing there, her hands extended outward after slamming the door open. She then brought her hands behind her head as she walked into the room. Shibuki, are these the Konoha shinobi that came to the village? She asked. I heard there were a few here and I wanted to see what they're like. Well, this is convenient timing. Shibuki chuckled as he gestured towards the girl. This right here is Fu. Fu's eyes moved towards the Konoha shinobi. Her eyes moved from Anko to Hinata to Shikamaru before settling onto Naruto. The moment her eyes stared at the blonde, she heard Komiai's voice booming in her head, which caused her eyes to widen. That's Kurama! Kurama is here, the Biju shouted. I knew I sensed a familiar presence, but I wanted to make sure. Ah, that's my big brother. Today's a lucky day, Fu. You get to meet Kurama's Jinchuriki. Fu brought her hands to her head to drown out the noise in her mind. Komiai was speaking too loud and fast for her to fully process his words. It's nice to meet you all. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, and these are my friends, Hyuga Hinata, Naro Shikamaru, and Mitarashi Anko. Nice to meet you, Naruto said, smiling while waving at her. It's always nice to meet a fellow Jinchuriki. Jinchuriki? Fu repeated the word in surprise. Her mind then slowly replayed Komiai's words, which caused her eyes to widen. Why you don't mean dash, please sit down for a moment, Fu, Shibuki spoke up. We have a lot to discuss with you. With a silent nod of her head, Fu proceeded to walk over to a mat next to Naruto and took a seat. Team 3 and Shibuki finished going over the details on Akatsuki with Fu. The Nanabai Jinchuriki remained quiet as she processed everything that had been said. Once the explanation had finished, silence filled the office room. It was finally broken when a long sigh escaped Fu's lips. I see, she mumbled, bringing her hands together. So, they're trying to hunt me down, and no one knows why. We don't know, Anko admitted with a frown. But it's all gonna be good. We've fought off Akatsuki members before. It's possible to fight them. We just felt it would be best for you to know about them. Well, I appreciate that. Although I already knew that there were people who already wanted to kill me cause of my Jinchuriki status, Fu said, sighing once again. But this group is definitely seeming more serious than what I'm used to. I'm going to have to step up my training. Definitely. Naruto nodded his head in agreement as he gave her a thumb up. Maybe we can train too. Fu redirected her attention back to Naruto. A smile developed on her lips as she clapped her hands together, staring at him. So, you are a Jinchuriki as well, huh? Her smile turned into a large grin. You're only the second I met, and I literally only just met Utakata a little bit ago. This is so cool. Heh. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. I've met Utakata as well, and a few others. I know Gaara, Hananai, Old Man Rashi, and Dash. Remembering Yugura's status, Naruto stopped himself from saying anything about him and started to grin at her again. Yeah, I've met a couple of them. Lucky. I'd love to meet more of our kind, she said. Her head then titled sideways as she looked at Naruto in confusion. Question. Does your Biju talk a lot? Komiai is always talking in my head and I do appreciate the company. It's sometimes kinda annoying. Wow. That's so rude of you. Komiai grumbled in the kunoichi's head, which caused her to giggle. Nah, the Kyuubi is pretty quiet, Naruto said with a chuckle. He only really speaks when spoken to, or whenever he feels like he has something he needs to say. For what it's worth, I do pity this girl for having Komiai sealed in her. Kurama, on cue, proceeded to speak in Naruto's mind. That beetle never shuts up. It's always yammering on about how lucky it is and shit. He's nice in small doses but can get exhausting after a while. Are you able to channel the Biju's chakra? Shikamaru asked. Naruto's able to channel the Kyuubi's chakra pretty easily after his training. I can. I'm not particularly good at controlling too much of his strength, but I can control probably 5 taels worth of chakra. Fu shrugged her shoulders. That's still a very impressive feat, Hinata said with a smile. You must be a really strong shinobi. Thanks. Fu smiled back at her, rubbing underneath her nose. She was about to say something, but an idea entered her head. She quickly spun around in place and turned to face Shibuki. Hey, Shibuki, do you have a place for them to stay? How long are they here? The Takigakure leader brought his hands together. I'm in no rush to kick them out. They can stay for a couple of days, but no arrangements have been made yet. Then it's decided. For as long as you guys are here, you're all staying at my place, Fu declared as she proceeded to stand up. Come on. Let me show where it is. Huh? Shikamaru blinked in confusion. Are we done with the meeting? Yeah, you're done. Fu finished for him, a smirk developing on her lips. Come on. Let's go. Don't have to tell me twice, Naruto stated with a chuckle as he stood up. Within seconds, Fu rushed out of the room, with Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru following behind. Anko bowed her head at Shibuki, who returned the bow, before she followed out as well. The Takigakure leader chuckled to himself as he shook his head. It's good to see her like that. I can't recall the last time I saw her in such a good mood, Shibuki noted to himself. His eyes then moved downward to the scrolls from the Hokage and Mizukage. His expression sobered up as he pulled them up again, and he began to reread. He was going to be busy, trying to think of any way he could help in this fight against Akatsuki. Enter. Jiraiya spoke after hearing a knock on his door. The door to his office opened and Tayuya walked in. A smirk developed on his lips as the girl took the seat in front of his desk. Enjoying being back in Konoha? Have some fun introducing your family to the village? He questioned. Fuck yeah, Tayuya said with a grin. I knew they'd love the place and I was right. I've already heard that Setsuko is making a name for herself at the academy. Iruka has his hands full with her. The Hokage chuckled. And her father is a splendid shinobi and will definitely make a good name for himself. That's all I could hope for, honestly, the Uzumaki said with a sigh. That's the whole purpose of this plan of ours, after all. Unite all the Uzumaki clan members and help them get a good life. And you're succeeding. I know your ancestors would be proud of you. Jiraiya smiled back at her. Anyway, did you have something you wished to discuss, Tayuya? Yeah, I was just letting you know I was heading out. You sent Naruto out on a mission, so I thought I might as well follow suit and get back out into the world, Tayuya replied with a chuckle. I just wanted to let you know and find out if there's anywhere you wanted me to go for now. Anything or place you particularly want some dirt on? Jiraiya's smile faded as he started to close his eyes in thought. An idea popped into his head, and he proceeded to nod his head. We're already aware of Akatsuki's current movements, so if you have the time, I'd like for you to check up on another small concern of mine in Iwadakure. What's going on there? Tayuya asked. I have heard that the last descendants of the Kamizura clan have returned to IWA after some self-imposed exile. And I heard they were not pleased with their alliance with us and have started to fan the flames of anti-Konoha sentiments in IWA again, the Hokage said with a sigh. You know of Naruto's teammate, Shikamaru, right? His girlfriend is an IWA shinobi, and she has mentioned in letters before that there is tension in the village right now because of their presence. While I do appreciate the information that she has said to Shikamaru, I would like for you to go visit and give me your personal take on it. Yeah. Gotcha. I can head to IWA right away. I haven't actually explored Tsuchi no Kuni for any Uzumaki clan members either, so this definitely works out for me, Tayuya said with a smirk. The smirk quickly faded, however, as a serious look developed on her face. But first thing is first, I'll check up on that. It probably wouldn't be that hard to fan anti-Konoha sentiments in IWA considering the last Great War, so I'll see how severe it is. Please do, Jiraiya said. With a nod of her head, Tayuya proceeded to walk out of the office with a new mission under her belt. Jiraiya turned his head towards the outside window of his office, his eyes focusing on the Hokage mountain. They narrowed in on the Yondame's head and a small, sad smile developed on his lips. Wonder how you'd be handling all of this, Minato. This job's stressful as hell, he said with a chuckle. Fu had led the Konoha shinobi away from the center of Taki and towards the outskirts. Along the way, the group noticed the reactions of the people that they passed. The Taki citizens seemingly looked on at them in approval, but upon noticing Fu, they focused their attention on her and scowled. Many whispered to each other about her, obviously talking about her, but Fu did not seemingly react to it. She simply continued to lead the way. All 4 Konoha shinobi were getting more and more upset with each passing comment they heard. Naruto, in particular, was getting angry and seemed as if he was one more comment away from confronting someone. However, Fu's response was to only get faster, tell the group to catch up to her, and then not comment on any questions asked. So, the 4 let it be, for now. About 15 minutes of walking passed before they arrived at a bridge that led to a small island on the lake around the village. The only things on the island were a few trees and a simple, one-story wooden building that was painted dark green. Welcome to Kabutamushi Island. Population, me? Fu said with a grin. Come. Let me show you around. The Taki Kunoichi rushed ahead across the bridge and into her home. Team 3 exchanged looks between each other before they nodded and followed her. Fu's home was both quaint and spacious. The wooden floors and walls were painted various shades of green. There were many rooms in her small home. She had a small, but comfortable, kitchen and dining room, a living room that seemed rather plain comparison to the rest of the house, a study that had bookcases that were completely filled, and a large open room that was filled with paint, balloons, and other prank supplies. So, just giving you all a heads up, I only have 2 bedrooms. One of which is mine, Fu said as she rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. So? I can take my couch if you 4 can decide who sleeps where in the rooms. There should be enough space for 2 people to a room. One of us can take the couch. It's your place, after all, Hinata stated. Nah, I insist. I never have company, so I need to treat you all right. I'll take the couch, Fu said with a grin. Come on. Go check out the bedrooms. You sure about that? Enko questioned. I actually really like couches. I'm positive, Fu stated, her grin rising. Go. Check everything out. With her insistence, Hinata, Shikamaru, and Enko all walked to go check out the bedrooms. Naruto followed behind them, but he stopped as he noticed an open door to a room he had not seen. He walked over towards it and walked inside. His eyes widened in surprise. The room he had walked into resembled a large greenhouse. The wall and ceilings of the room were made of glass, and the sun, despite not being particularly bright over Taki, shone brightly into the room. A few windows were open, however, and Naruto could see many beetles and other insects flying into the room. Inside the greenhouse was a variety of plant species, ranging from flowers to bushes to shrubs to even small trees. Naruto could also see a large variety of insects in the room, some of which he had never seen before. Yeah, you like my greenhouse? The Uzumaki turned his head to see that Fu had followed him into the room. This is probably the coolest place here. I tried to design one that would not only be good for all the different types of insects here, but also be a good easy place for bugs to come in and live. It's really nice, yeah? Naruto said with a grin. He himself liked to garden as a hobby, but he had never seen something like this before. You really got a good green thumb. What, did the green painted house give that away? The Nanabai Jinchuriki replied with a chuckle. But in all seriousness, of course I do. I have to take care of the only friends I got here. Only friends? Naruto said, frowning slightly. So, you really have no friends here, huh? Duh. 'Cause the people here suck. None of them give a shit about me. I'm just a demon to them, Fu said, rolling her eyes. Humans in general just suck. Naruto's frown deepened more at her words. They reminded him of Han when he had first met him. I agree that people with that mindset suck. But not everyone is like that. I'm aware of that. Just so happens though that the majority people in this godforsaken village think that way though. Fu rolled her eyes once again. Her eyes then widened in realization as she realized that she and Naruto were alone. Biting her lip, she proceeded to turn to face him and spoke a little softer, in case someone walked in. So, those 3 shinobi with you. They're not Jinchuriki. But they're cool with you being one? More than cool, Naruto said with a chuckle. Hinata-chan is my girlfriend, Shikamaru is my best friend, and Enko-sensei was the best Jonin-sensei I could have ever had. They don't give a shit about my status. Are you sure about that? Fu continued to question, a frown developing on her face. I mean, I believe you and stuff, but I find it sorta hard to accept, you know? Most people aren't that accepting. Are you sure they're okay? I know they are, he said again, crossing his arms. They're my closest people. They don't care. If you say, she sighed in response as she pocketed her hands. Well, if they're really that open-minded and accepting of Jinchuriki, I wish one of them was from Taki, 'cause there's no one like that in the village. What about that Shibuki guy? Naruto asked. He seemed pretty nice to you. His dad sealed the nanabi in me. He's nice to me because he feels bad. Fu shook her head. I know exactly the kind of person he is. Shibuki is and is quick to act on his own feelings of guilt, even if you don't ask him to. He won't assign me any missions outside of the village after an accident I had once. What accident? Naruto questioned. This was like 2 years ago. I went on a mission to hunt down a few missing ninja that were spotted in the area, along with 3 other Taki jonin. Fu spoke, scowling. We couldn't track down the missing ninja, but one of my squad mates assigned to the mission did not like the of returning to the village empty-handed. So, she attacked me? What? The Uzumaki's eyes widened. The mint-haired girl nodded her head. Turns out, she always resented me for being a Jinchuriki. So, if she couldn't do the mission for the village and retrieve the missing ninja, she thought she'd do the villagers a favor and try to kill me and get rid of that demon bitch for everyone. She proceeded to spit out on the ground, her scowl deepening. Obviously, she failed, and I killed her in self-defense. And ever since then, Shibuki has felt so bad about the situation for not assuming that one of his shinobi would even attempt to kill me that he stopped sending me on missions with other people. Which then turned into him just not sending me on missions in general. That's... Naruto shook his head, a scowl of his own developing. That's bullshit. I know it is. Fu exclaimed. It's just, ugh. I know he means well and is trying to keep me safe, but being stuck in a village that hates me almost 24/7 is almost the worst thing he could do to me. I fucking hate it. Hate what? Naruto and Fu both turned their heads towards the entrance to the greenhouse. Anko walked into the room, her eyes focused in on them. Immediately, Fu's demeanor changed. Her scowl disappeared, and a relaxed, carefree smile developed in its place. I hate this weather, you know? I actually need it to rain soon, she said with a chuckle. She proceeded to notice Anko's eyes wander the room, which caused her smile to turn into a smirk. So, what do you think of this room? Pretty cool, huh? Naruto frowned, watching her behavior with his Jonin sensei. I can see that mask. She's still upset about what we were talking about, but she's not going to show it to others. Because she doesn't trust humans. Despite his frown, Naruto said nothing as he watched Fu and Anko proceed to chat about the greenhouse and Fu's house in general. What the hell? Karyudo Seijai's eyes widened in fear. This chakra, can it be? The Jonin commander of Takigakure moved swiftly to the entrance of Taki, navigating the underwater caves in the lake. Within seconds he appeared on the outside of the lake. His eyes widened at the sight. Suien was standing in front of the lake, a smirk developed on his face. Standing by him were the 3 missing ninja from AIM, Kirasame, his AIM, Murasame. Standing behind them were even more shinobi, wearing various headbands. Seijai's eyes narrowed as he reached for the scythe on his back. You're the Jonin commander of Taki, right? Suien questioned, his smirk seemingly widening. You look like quite the capable shinobi, but let's see how capable you really are. Relief almost seemingly filled Seijai's face, almost as if he was expecting somebody else. As quick as it arrived, that relief changed to anger as the man glared at the missing ninja in front of him. Suien, you've made a foolish mistake returning to the village, especially in such an obvious fashion. Seijai snarled as his hand went to the scythe on his back. In the name of the village you betrayed, I will slice you down. Your blood will fall like the waterfall. Seijai, he is on my side. You will not be fighting him. Immediately, the horror on Seijai's face returned as Kakuzu and Haiden appeared between Seijai and Suien. His hand let go of the scythe, his eyes fixated on Kakuzu. Kakuzu. He proceeded to bite his lip as he shook his head. Why are you here? What business do you have with Taki? Stuttering? I didn't take you to have become a weakling. If I knew you would become one, I wouldn't have saved you that one day during the Third Shinobi World War. Kakuzu spoke. I'm here to collect your debt. And my debt? He stiffened. I saved your life. I'm the reason you didn't die years ago. And you made a blood pact that, despite me being a missing ninja, you'd pay me back as thanks. It is time you paid me back, the Akatsuki member said, crossing his arms. You're an honorable man, Seijai, one of the only honorable men that your blasted village has. I know you can't turn down that promise. I. Seijai turned away, his back facing the man. What do you want here, Kakuzu? I need you to let and my associates into the village when the time is right. We have a job here. And I want you to allow us to move freely in and out of the village without reporting our presence. Kakuzu answered. We'll make this quick, so it is to both yours and our benefit that you allow us in. Fine. Consider it done. The red-haired man crossed his arms. Enter and get this over with. Both Hayden and I will be entering for now. We're not pulling out assignment just yet. I want to observe something first, Kakuzu said. We'll be gone soon, however. Grr. Seijai gritted his teeth as Kakuzu and Hayden started to walk forward the lake. He proceeded to shake his head as he watched the former Taki shinobi begin to lead his partner into the village. It's a weird time to see you again, Kakuzu. You just came up today in discussion with Shibuki? Oh? Both Kakuzu and Hayden stopped on their path, turning back to Seijai. Kakuzu's eyebrow rose as he stared at the man. What did your leader have to say about me? Damn, Fu, you're a great cook, Anko praised. Team 3 gathered around a table in Fu's house, eating plates of yakisoba. The mint-haired girl chuckled in response, stirring her own chopsticks in her bowl. I like to think I am at least. I'm really good with any noodle dish, Fu said proudly. Although I do think I can make a really good okonomiyaki. Do you know how to make ramen? Naruto asked. Yeah, although I don't think mine's that special. She shrugged her shoulders. So, you're an amazing cook, you're a gardener, you're an elaborate prankster, any other talents you want to disclose? Shikamaru asked with a chuckle. I also write poetry, Fu answered with a smile. Her eyes moved from the table towards a window in home as she began to recite a poem she had written. Shadows on the darkness of my heart have left me in confusion. Dream or truth, let other folk decide. She turned her head back to the group. That's an example of my work. It's very lyrical. I loved it, Hinata said with a smile. Short, but full of meaning. Fu nodded her head. I'm of the belief that poetry should be concise. It should not take 20 lines describing just visual metaphor. It should bring forth real emotion. That's what I try and write, at least. Conversation remained light as the group began to question Fu about her poetry. She answered questions happily and was eager to recite more poetry to them. It was almost relaxing to her how interested everyone was in her work and her in general. It was a feeling she was not used to, but one she was definitely enjoying. So, how long are you all staying in Taki? She asked. Maybe 4 days or so. We already completed our mission, we just have some time to kill, Anko said with a shrug. We don't want to stay too long though and be a burden on you. You're not being a burden. I never have company, might as well enjoy it, Fu said with a chuckle. Stay as long as you want here. I'd enjoy it. I wouldn't mind getting to know you more, Fu-san, Hinata said with a smile. I'd love to really explore your greenhouse. That can be arranged. The Nanabai Jinchuriki smiled in response. Also, if it's alright to ask, does anyone want to maybe spar tomorrow? I think I might be getting a bit rusty, so I'd love a chance to stretch my muscles and stuff. Hell yeah? Naruto grinned. I'd love to. As would I, Shikamaru added. Likewise. Hinata spoke again. I wouldn't mind as well, but looks like you got a line already. Anko chuckled. Heh. The Takigakure Kunoichi began to smirk. This should be fun then. For the first time in years, a genuine excitement bubbled in Fu's body. Her eyes moved from Shikamaru, to Hinata, to Anko. They all seemed genuinely interested in her and potentially sparring with her. Her eyes then moved to Naruto, who was smiling in approval. Perhaps he's right about these humans. Heh. Sure. If they have the trust of another Jinchuriki, I'll trust them, she told herself. This week, for as long as these Konoha shinobi were here, was looking to be one of the most exciting for her in years. What? The Kyubi Jinchuriki is here? Kakuzu snarled. Kakuzu, Hayden, Suien, and Seijai were in a small, hidden room deep within the roots of the large tree. Takigekyu's Jonin commander had an uncomfortable look on his face as Kakuzu leaked out massive amounts of killing intent in no particular direction. He was accompanied alongside other Konoha shinobi, where they detailed Shibuki about this Akatsuki organization you are a part of. Seijai confirmed. That's awfully convenient timing. Haiden rolled his eyes. They just arrive and tell him about Akatsuki right before we get here? Really fucking convenient. There's been a leak. Someone in Akatsuki is spying on us and giving back info. Kakuzu concluded. We're going to have to inform Pain of that in private. This spy needs to be killed. Silence filled the room for a moment. Kakuzu took in deep breaths, calming himself down and quelling his killing intent. So, are you all still going to try and kidnap that Jinchuriki then? Suien questioned, his hands in his pocket. The man seemed almost bored. I've got things to do if this mission isn't going to happen. No. We're still going to try. Kakuzu answered. The presence of the Konoha shinobi is troubling, but it can't be helped. I'm certain that they will not have preparations for you and your shinobi, Suien. His eyes then moved over towards Seijai. They will also not have preparations for you? Seijai's eyes narrowed in response. Kakuzu, I thought the agreement was for me to help you into the village. I never agreed to fight alongside Dash. There is no agreement. You owe me your life, Seijai. Kakuzu stated sharply, interrupting him. As such, you will fight alongside us. And you will help us kill those Konoha shinobi. Seijai remained quiet for a moment before he shook his head. Fine. This actually works out for us, you know? We can just snag the Kyubi Jinchuriki for Pain as well. Haiden noted with a grin. I met that fucker a while ago, and he ended up teaching me some powerful lessons. I'd like to thank him for all that I learned from that day in Nami no Kuni. I've also encountered him before. He killed Nasamurita those years ago. I should thank him for that. Kakuzu added. His reward will be a quick, painless extraction of his biju when we finish up with this. Their plan would need some reevaluation, but Kakuzu was still certain of its success. Akatsuki would be walking away with both Jinchuriki and Taki will be burned in a way the village had never experienced before. In just a few days, I will have my revenge and Akatsuki will be one step closer to its ambitions, he noted, smirking behind his mask. And there's not a damn thing that those Konoha shinobi will be able to stop this.